It's an amazing time, Wholeness Tribe. We'll let it breathe and get this thing started up. Let me just take a look at everything, make sure everything is working. Somebody said me first. All right, so let's do a sound check. Check them out, sound check. Let me know if you're hearing this, if you're getting this on your side. You're beyond the resistance. Background music going on here. Slow that up. All right, Wholeness and Balance Vibrations Tribe, we're going to get started in just a minute here. And but before we do, we need to do a little sound check. So if you can hear it come through, let us know. I think the levels look a little low, so I'm going to pick them up. All right, somebody is saying loud and clear. Maybe I won't put it too high just in case I start yelling. All right, family wholeness, it's exactly 4 o'clock. We're going to take a quick look here at some metrics, but before we do, we have a couple announcements. Here goes one of them. Let me read it to you. The ideas and the thoughts expressed in this show are the thoughts and options of the host. All recommendations, advice, and suggestions should be thoroughly researched and practiced at your own discretion. Many of the views and the thoughts are of a paradigm-shifting nature. Maturity is advised. That means Sevan told me to do it, won't cut it. When you get into one of those spaces, and now it's a time for you to realize all is self. All right, so I'm sure everyone gets that. And here we are. What's up, family? This is an amazing day. It's an amazing time. Whew. I'm hearing that some folks, they're starting to listen to the show. They're starting to listen to the show, and they're bumping into me in the public and saying, "Hey, man, are you there? Are you that guy that's on the YouTube?" And I'm like, "No, man, I don't even watch TV, man. I don't even have a computer," and which is kind of hilarious. So it means that this has been going very well. People are starting to tune into the message, and for the last 3 or 4 years, I've definitely been in one of those stages like, okay, well, let's figure out how to pace ourselves in this journey. Let's figure out how to get this information so that it's on a level where everyone can really tune into at least a part of it. So I will say I did kind of back down with just the potency of the content. I know some may have noticed, some complained, but remember overall, we were digesting more. But now, since it seems like some are starting to catch up and catch on to what's happening, it's important that we just floor this thing again. And especially since we're going into 2020, and it just so happens, it's really powerful, this life, because if you just see how, things are depicted in the fictitious world about, when you get to the end of time, there'll be the resistance, and then there's this, these ragtag leaders, and, then there's this alien visitor, and, they always paint this story so many times. But wow, it feels great to be on the side of the one who's broadcasting the message about awareness and about what needs to happen here within self. And also to be able to have the opportunity to do this for this long. To be honest, no matter what happens after this, there's already enough knowledge and wisdom out there. There's already enough seeds that have been budding. Many have taken the wisdom themselves and applied it, connected it to what they had already going on, and it's creating a synthesis. I wanted to send a big thanks out there to the ancestors and to the pillars, those who've been holding space, the foundation. It's a real thing. Staying stable when everybody else is shaking and moving, being the parent, if you may, around everything and enduring, and then coming in to charge up on shows like this where we get an opportunity to share. It has been a long time. Even a few hours is a long time for me. Normally going quantum. You know, we got to grease up one of those quantum drives, grease up these quantum lips. I'm like, man, I don't know if I could. There's a little bit too much friction in there. All right, yeah, because that's what it's going to be like. He's speaking scientific holy tongues over here. Like, we want to make sure them things is moving. I was beatboxing that other night because I used to beatbox when I was younger, and they loved it. That was when the music was good. And I was beatboxing the other night, and I said, man, you know, we carry a beat, we carry a tune, we all carry a beat and tune, and I've always had this bass thing going on. I'm always like holding up the bass line. Everybody has their instrument, right? And so that to me always meant that, you know, I was the foundation. And even if times people were walking on me, then you know, I shouldn't be surprised, you know. There's a lot of knowledge and information that's out there and wisdom, and it's building. And as I said before, many are starting to echo some of what is being said here, and that's great because that means that we're going to get some shake. We're going to definitely get some vibrational frequency rising and happening here. So, one of these, you got to really be like, man, how am I even going to come into this? Let me get my shirt together. Like, I spent 30 minutes trying to think about one button or two buttons. I couldn't figure out where to put my hands either. It's like, man, where do I put my hands? So I'll try one button for those that think I've just Miami Vicing it on you. Like, damn, you just chest all out, Miami Vicing it. I got my girl here, you know. But anyway, so I put one button up so that way we tighten up. So again, I've just been letting it breathe so that way everyone that's coming into this conversation can actually dive in. And it's 5 minutes in, so, you know, some of us are late but right on time, you know, that convenient, I move on my own flow. I'm going to be 30 minutes late. And actually 33 minutes, a suspicious number, you know. So, there's no rush in this, but what I am going to do is I'm going to activate the quantum drive at a certain point. And I'm actually going to see if I can get through the entire field. The entire projection of what is to be brought forth in a very precise time frame. And then even if it's a little long for you, always remember you got that 1.2x or 1.25, 1.50x speed change that you can do inside of YouTube. And this means that although I sound more like one of Alpha and the Chipmunks, it does mean that you get it in. And I've actually been using it these days too, because I sometimes just forget it's there. And I'm talking about just the thing that speeds up the YouTube video. So 10 minutes turns into, 7 minutes and 50 seconds. That's what you want, right? Like, you want to definitely be as efficient as possible, but still being able to gather it. So you can figure out what your speed is in this conversation. Even if it does end up being sometimes a little bit lengthy, then you could get a couple minutes there. I just wanted to remind everybody of that. So what are these? Oh, excuse me. I haven't used to doing that. Those. Okay, yeah, that's the right direction. Dang, that thing is really backwards. So what are these? These are metrics. These are optics. Why? And it's because this is a nautical journey. We are for sure in these ships. We in these boats, big boats over here. And we really have to have our gauges and our dials properly. Like, who cares what everybody else is saying? Like, just tune right into yourself and be like, okay, so I'm in a ship. They talking about we ain't the body, but shoot, I just took a hit the other night and it felt like I was the body, so it was good. Word to the wise, as it was spoken yesterday on that breatharian recording that y'all got a chance to see if you tuned in. Stop referring to yourself in these different bodies. Oh, my spiritual body. Only unless you have the trials going on, where you need to meticulously label every single thing. And, so that everyone that's reading your diaries and reading your notes know exactly what's happened when they find you. But other than that, just to yourself and with self, stop referring to self as different things. My mental body needs to back down a little bit, and my spiritual body needs to be more stronger, and my physical body, I need to get it in more control. Look, stop. It's all one. That's your first pillar right now today, is to stop it with the referring in different bodies, the higher self, that's there. If all of that, bring it all inside, because that's how you realize who you are. That is how you become the master of the projection. I'm going to deliver today the formula, the recipe itself in synthesis. I always deliver the recipe. When I get on here, I look to give you every single drop of what I have, because I have something inexhaustible. I go fill back up. And I can hold more after I do that. But the truth is here, we all want to be able to keep synthesizing this when we come in. Like, I don't like to use the word simple and easy, but what a synthesis is it's like, okay, well, we're in almost 2020 and we speak this certain language and we have this vernacular, we have these symbols and we have some emojis. How can my existence be explained as best as possible within something like this? And more importantly, how can I articulate that to you? And it's very important also that I set in these nodics, right here, yeah, that I set in these nodics in our consciousness that, listen, we're on a journey here and you're reading the diary. You're reading my diary. I never intended for you to read my diary. For those who keep diaries, do you write the diary so somebody finds it and reads it? No, that's not a diary. Because in a diary, you say these personal things and you have this intimate experience, but you have your privacy, right? Now, privacy is very rare these days. It's expensive. It's tricky to get privacy. For real, like especially with third eyes active. Like what kind of privacy could you have against something that can pierce, through the thinnest veil? So truly, what I work to do is to keep myself as real as possible by not narrating my journey to you, but just allowing you to read my diary of the experience that I'm going through, because I set out to figure out what happens when you die, what to do in infinity, and what is actually going on around me with especially the closest people to me, my family, my land, my nation, my creed, my code, all of that. I sought out to figure that out, just like anyone would embark on some journey that, they would want to become a scholar at what they're doing. But it was an exploration. It was an adventure. It wasn't like an Indiana Jones thing, but it was greater. It was something that was very real and continues to be real. And also, as I'm learning how to use this human body, which a lot of us need to start admitting, hey, this may be your first rodeo, as I'm learning how to use this human body and to be in this physical plane, as they're calling it, hint, hint, or wink, wink, in this physical plane, I'm just starting to get bearing, and that's why the nodics are here. I'm starting to get bearing of what's really going on and what's really important. Now, let's take a look really briefly, because I'm over here, and this is kind of how I do things. Let's go over here real briefly. This is how I do things, because this is the dream. I can actually, let me see if I'm pushing my updates here. Let me push my update. The screen looks a little soft to me. So we're in this dream. Let me hit this record button and see what it does. Okay, that doesn't work. Okay, let me not play around with that. And this is the Morpheus dream, and this is what it looks like. So that still makes me, part of the team, right, Flat Earth guys? I mean, don't bang on me. But this is the dream. This is Morpheus. And as Morpheus is moving about, we find that right now, over where I'm at, Hercules is moving through, right? Hercules. Hercules. So we find that Hercules is moving through. And it's because also this is a hunter moon. Right? So you go look at what kind of moon is it? They got these different moons: beaver moon, deer moon, hunter moon. What does all that mean? Anybody check back? Check back on that? Why are they naming these this way? Is there something to do with the light? Hunting is a something that you don't want to just not know what you're doing. If you're going to go out there, either you're not going to catch something, or you may end up getting hunted. At best, you may waste time. At worst, you may not come back. So if this is a hunter moon, what is it so special about this? And what do hunters need? They need light. They need darkness, and they need light. Because there's a nocturnal realm. You ever seen some nocturnal animals? Watch some nocturnal, like there's geckos around here. They're like nocturnal. There's a lot of lizards. They roll in the daytime. They don't handle the nocturnal. Spiders, a lot of spiders are nocturnal. They come out and hunt, right? But then there's these two different worlds. And I'm here to tell you right now, so it's very, very clear to you, before we even dive in and activate this quantum drive, that you are betwixt two different realms that are totally different. You are betwixt, meaning you are right in between two realms that are totally different. So you have a choice. And that choice is either to be two different people, which is what we call fake, two-face, or really get bearing of how to actually tread into both worlds and also to remain in balance as you're going through your cycles, as you're going through your spiral. So I'm going to show you a couple things here, okay? Just a couple symbols that you know, okay? Just some symbols that you know. Okay. This is our K emoji. It just means that you are in between. Okay? First of all, big welcome to all those in the chat. Max, Gabriel, Fauna. Take a breath here. Tyrone in the house. Nintu, for all those coming into this space and holding this space. Let me see if I want to see. I can't even, let me just pause this over here, man. I don't want to touch anything because things are working so well right now. So I'm excited. But of course, these are your symbols. I can draw lots of these. And what they say is they say that we're connected. And they say that we're connected in between. All right, so I'm just checking the chat here, make sure everything's on point. I'm going to remove somebody real briefly. Or actually, you know what? I'm going to let the moderators do that. Okay, there we go. I got moderators. So that's the other thing. We got moderators on deck. Yeah, I forgot to explain to everyone some of the protocols, especially look, if we engage the quantum drive, we got folks jumping all around the cabin. Oh, you're going to get splattered in here. So I will set the mood and set the tone for a minute. Excuse me. Let me back up. Skrrr! One moment. Okay, fam. I see what's going on. Okay, so we had no sound for a minute. Excuse me. I see why I'm getting phone calls like, yo, why y'all calling me during the show? It's like, man, is that live over there? It's like, no, man, you ain't got no sound. Okay, let's get some sound up in here. So what I was saying is I was talking about dialing into this space. And I was talking about if you look into why you're here, if you just came to be entertained, then there was other options. If you came here to find yourself, then you came to the right place. You actually came to where there was another version of you, had you done the things that I've done, seen the things that I've seen, know the things that I know, and this is exactly what you would be doing. And that's the benefit of us all being unique, because we're all in these different spaces and different times, but we're using the same equipment. This is the quantum equipment of consciousness. And what this equipment allows us to do is it allows us to dial into every single point of the space if we choose. If we choose to actually see ourselves as beyond what we think we are, what we've been taught that we are, and we go on this journey together, and we get to a stage of being able to open up an entirely new level of existence. So that's what I was talking about before I figured out that we didn't have any sound. So we're saying there was no sound, but that's the best thing is silence. All right, let's see if I need to push the sound. Some saying they hear fine, because some say it's dipping in and out. So let me just give it a minute. Let me let it breathe. Some are saying no audio. Okay. All right. So great. So it looks like we're doing great now. There was a little lag in the sound. There's always something going on as we're boarding up. You know, I'm not sure how much everyone got and how much they didn't get. I trust that you got enough. And I'll talk to everyone tomorrow. Wholeness and balance vibrations. All right. So let's just take a minute and just breathe into this space, because that's what it always takes. This is a heavy cruiser. So that means that there's a lot that are bored in today on this quantum journey and this adventure that we're going to be going on. It's yet to get started. We want to make sure that we balance the vibrations truly. You know, I took a pause in the beginning, not only to thank the ancestors, but also to dial into the pillars. I actually bear witness to also the nautical situation as we're on this journey. And as we're cruising into this tide, we're actually going into full moon. Energy's picking up. I decide to actually ride right into this. By the way, those birds are actually toucans and gazungas, which are like a smaller version of the toucan. All right, family. So let's go ahead and take off with this then, since I understand at this stage that everyone is listening. And, you know, I know there can be a lot of distractions. So I'm also going to close my window down here. I just want to make sure that we onboarded properly. It's a good thing that I had it open. I am going to open also my communication line with my moderators again. Now I know that they were trying to call me because there was no sound. I also am looking at I'm looking at your chat. So if there is something that kind of comes offline, just let me know there. Okay, great. All right, so it looks like sound was also out for about 6 or 7 minutes, and there's a lot that could be translated in that process. But instead of going backwards, I'm going to go forwards, and I want to continuously let everybody know here that we do our best. And this is why it's important also to put the actions in, to just get it done. Because at the end of the day, you would just be coming here to report. Like, I'm just coming here to report to you, all of the great things that have not only happened, some of the things that we're complete with. I'm also here to translate some information to you about quantum existence and how it's been benefiting my own personal growth. And I'm here to also share with you the connection that we always share as a family, that this is a very serious thing when you take on any kind of role of reporting this type of knowledge and experience to everyone. It's a serious thing. Nobody told you to do it, and it changes your life. Meaning that if you agree to do it and you accept that responsibility, because it is a responsibility, it will not only change your life in a dynamic way, but it'll also make you very mature. Like you're going on a real journey. That's just for any of us that are toting this information and toting this knowledge and wisdom. It's like there's a certain honor and respect in order to level up that you have to have for it. I'm watching the whole process. I'm not in disagreement with anything these days, because I would be in disagreement with myself. I know that there's people out here right now that are teaching about spirituality that have not even been on spiritual journeys themselves. They haven't explored themselves, which is akin to trying to tell a person that has children how to raise children and you don't have one yourself. You could probably give some pointers, but it's the real and the authentic thing that's most important. So I'm here with the real and the authentic thing coming out as a diary, which is like for those who aspire to continue to do this and are doing this already, in order to not lose yourself and become the narrator of your journey and stop living in your own experience in itself. The way you should do this when you're communicating with people is to start visualizing you yourself opening your diary to everyone and that they're reading it. And that's what you're speaking. That way you can remain on your journey and your adventure and nothing slows you down or holds you back. Like, we have to really think about that. Like, you get into, let's say, teaching the knowledge, healing people, repairing things. You're spending energy. So this can slow you down. There's lessons to learn in things, but also the lesson could be to when it's time to move on. So in all of this, we practice a certain level of precision. And I only say practice in this tense is because balance is something that always must be maintained. It's not something that you do and I'm like, I'm good. I know everything already. I got it now. And you're in infinity. I want to take also a moment to a word to infinity. And what really happens here in an existence that never stops. Like, we would have to accept that first. That's why death is there at the door as a definition, for people to not think about infinity and not think about, well, if I'm going to do this forever, and what I understand to be forever, continuously, if I'm going to always be in an existence, what is it I should really be doing then? If I accept that, what should I be doing? You should be making a perfect existence. First, you should see the shape of infinity, which we have now, again, another shape that shows us that there is a midpoint. Here. And in infinity, what you obviously want to be doing is you want to be creating a perfect loop, a perfect circle. And this is why I find it's interesting, because there's many teachings out here, and I was even listening to a lot of this stuff. It talks about nullifying your life, basically destroying your life, thinking of it as no account. Like, it's like when they put the mandala and the sand painting together and then they rub it all out. I'm telling you, that happens with sand paintings. If you rub out your life the wrong way, or if you take some of this knowledge that's for masters too literal and as a novice, you can find yourself wiping out things that you need, that you love, things that you care about, things that you used to want. All because of mainly things being in the wrong place. I'm here to tell you that there's actually no such thing as what people would call bad, evil, etc. What there is, though, is there's things in the wrong place. And if you start putting stuff in the wrong place, what comes from that is distortion. And this is what you would refer to as evil. And all of these would be a check and balance to wake you up. You have something going on right now that has been passed to you from your ancestors. It's been passed to you from your mother, passed to you from your grandmother, your great-grandmother, your great-grandfather, all the way back to when it gets androgynous. And then all these other beings continuously passing something to you. But it's also like a bill sometimes. This is why there's a hereditary balance that many are carrying. It's like, yeah, but you have this thing, this ailment, this thing that's going on with you that you've been carrying down generations. How do we balance that out? That's why these quantum mechanics are so important, because they actually let you understand how to balance out your life. These nautical systems, it's not a joke. It's like, you got people playing with this stuff. They don't even understand what it exactly means, but you got power moving through all the time. And it shows you we have enough technology now to see when the power is moving through, but we don't even know what it means. We're even ignoring it. We're ad-libbing. I'm going to make it up myself. Like anything you grab something from was already there. So how are you making up anything? It's about order. It's about getting things in the right place so that it begins to turn a perfect cycle, so that you don't keep coming into these lives of first you're abused to, try to correct. That's payment. That's pain. You're now trying to pay off some of the balance of what has gone on in the previous lives with the ancestors, the family member, the tribe, the ones that passed you the bill, passed you the baton. Now here you come with the will. Let me show you what's really happening. This is as simple as the will. You know how they say, hey, you can't reinvent the will. The will is the most amazing invention, right? They tell you that all the time. Let me reset my screen real quick here. So they tell you the will is the most amazing invention. And if somebody makes that statement and you can bear witness to that statement, then that means that you have to be able to now say, well, if that statement is true, that means it must be super powerful. This must be something big. So do I really get it? Yeah, it's the will you put on the bottom of a car, because it allowed us to be able to take things around, even things that are really heavy, like on my car. And that's what a lot of people think is the definition of the will. I'm moving to chat screeners. Chat screeners. Wow, I will give anybody advice that's trying to really dial into this conversation today. Put away the chat. Chat it's ridiculously distracting. We'll use it for Q&A later on, but I'm just saying, for those adepts, I'm sure they're already like, we already know, Sevan. But yeah, it's important, because when you're looking at somebody make a statement, your mind goes in that direction. So if you're trying to focus and get ready to activate the quantum drive, then you need to really, really tune in. I'm just telling that to myself too. Just tune in. You may want to back away from the chat, because I don't really also get on these microphones these days a lot. And there's no better transmission than when it's live. I know you can come back to this later, but truthfully, like if you get it right now, you get it with the power of giants, titans, Hercules, messiahs. You're on a hunter moon. You start realizing the depths of yourself, shining the lights into some of the dark spaces where you've been keeping all your monsters. Running amok on the astral plane got me tying down your monsters on the astral plane. For us figuring out what our creations are, because we have this going on. We have one side of us that is like this. It's a contrast. That's even the graphic for contrast. Let me grab another thing here, because I'm going to come back to that. I want to make some of this very clear, very briefly. So on this will, we know that we have this word will, and we know we have this word will, okay? And we already know that a strong will is what we're looking for, because it allows us to endure. Because if your will is not able to endure, it starts whopping. It gets entropy. right? So it's not balanced, right? Because when you have a wheel has to be balanced. And what do you balance wheels with? Weights. Time, then. Time for you to figure something out. What are you really trying to figure out? Well, look at everybody else's problem. That's all you have to do. Figure out everybody else's problem. Everybody's so busy judging. They're so busy talking, yap, 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 yap. Now they think they know every damn thing. But how much are you putting into application? How much are you truly studying and mastering? I propose these questions to myself. The laws of karma and dharma. People think karma means the good thing, or the bad thing that you get from doing something bad, the outcome of something bad. And they think dharma means the outcome of doing things good. And the laws of karma and dharma don't even obey the laws of a binary good and bad system. Karma means action. Dharma means to bind together. To bind together action. That doesn't even interpret into good and bad in English. Let me show you something else. Let me show you how this is all working out. Why everything is just in the wrong place. You got to figure out, just like on this wheel, you got to figure out, what are these called? Type that in the chat box. What are these called in the wheel? Let me see. I'll even wait for a minute. What are these called in the wheel? I'll wait. So that way, you know that this is very clear for everybody. If you wanted to just, exactly. Thanks, Miles. Okay. It's called the spokes. So it's interesting that then, and where's the eraser on this? And let me grab the eraser. I guess that's over here. Look at this connection. We have the spoke, right? Which is to say something. Because we know we have the word, then we have the world, which is the world, like a whirl, right? And then we know that this to speak the word creates the world, okay? And this is the like it's not that complicated, but what happens though is that if you're out somewhere else, if you're gone fishing, if you're missing, none of this stuff actually connects. And so people keep doing things. They keep doing things that don't actually prove at all based on their actions and their knowledge that they're actually ready to go beyond. Like they're really betwixt these two different worlds, but they dare to venture beyond this because what do they keep doing? They prefer the small circle. They're doing everything they can to stay where they are. They're not actually listening to the advice that they're getting. Meaning that when we say, hey, man, the judgment thing, like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, the judgment thing, this is what's really causing the problem. I can't say I got rid of it yet, but I can show you in the language that once you break the wheel, like it's this half of the wheel is a D, right? So once you break this wheel, all the diabolical, devilish distortions start. That's why all those words begin with D. You could talk to you turn blue in yourself, till you turn blue in yourself and in your face about how a D doesn't roll. A D will not roll. And this is what they're warning about. This is what they're calling the devil, the evil. It's the distortion. And the distortion is just not having things in the right place. It's not about eliminating anything. How are you going to do that? How are you going to be everything and then eliminate a part of yourself? Where are you going to put it? That does not make any sense. And that's what I was saying about the quantum consciousness, because it takes the quantum consciousness to start realizing that it needs to start taking this, that you need to start taking this medicine. And that if you take this medicine, then where you get to is so far beyond where things are. You start changing the entire space around you. This place is big enough. This is not just earth. This is a consciousness, and this consciousness is big enough for you to literally live out your entire experience based on anything that you can add somewhere on this realm. Like there's so many unfilled spaces that there's just nothing out there. There's beaches here that as far as you can see with the palm trees, the white sand, the clear ocean, the warm water like a jacuzzi, there is nobody. But yet in the city, everybody is in the race, right? And then they'll have their reasons. Okay, they'll have their reasons. So what I want to actually bring up here is that then if what you speak and what you spoke, and I'm not just talking about dissecting words through etymology. People keep, I'm glad that I was able to transcribe a lot of the words in the Code of Matrix, but I think it's starting to go too far. People are finding their ways and not even being able to talk anymore, only going into conflict because they haven't learned how to put the other half of the words together. Let me show you something. Basically, it's always the same problem. Let me show you why it's always the same problem. Just things are not in the right place. The person will regress right back into duality again, which they know will keep them in the small circle. And I'm sitting here telling you, if you can't actually agree with something of what's going on and know what place it has, it's because of your lack of wisdom. So let me show you how this kind of works. This word, morning, and again, I take my own medicine. Like, that's why you're reading my journal. You're reading my diary. I'm not here sitting with you for you to say, well, Sevan, last time you said, well, first of all, if you told me that, I'd be like, where'd you hear that? And you're like, oh, man, I read your diary. I was like, what kind of shit is that? Why are you in my diary? You see what I mean? So what I'm saying is that if I'm going on an experience and then I learn later on things mean certain things, or I should take another level or another stance with how I'm approaching my consciousness and how I'm approaching my wisdom, and then you happen to be getting that transmission, well, whoopee-doo, click your heels together, because it's going to save you time. It's going to save you space bucks, galactic currents. It's going to save you so much. You're going to be the Prius on the realm. You're going to be back on perpetual, just seeing other people's mistakes and watching them fall down the ladder of lights, which is like having a wheel with broken spokes. Okay? Like, that's what it'd be like. You ever rode a bicycle tire that the spoke was messed up? No, I did. I used to be a bicycle fan when I was a kid. GT Dyno, Haro, but first BMX, right? First Huffy. Remember the Huffy? The Huffy was hard to pedal. Not that Haro, which you lift with one finger. I'm in there with the cheapo, the thing where you can't lift with one hand. Right? I got the handlebars welded together. And that's how I started. So I know what it's like to even ride on rims that are made of that hard plastic. You remember the hard plastic? It wasn't really a tire. So I rode on the hard plastic and even rode that thing till you couldn't ride it no more. I've fallen off the handlebars and hit the front tire. That was me. Okay? So I know this rodeo. That's what I'm saying about supreme and quantum knowledge. You start seeing it everywhere. You're like, hey, I can call it out of everything. So check it out. How morning's in the wrong place. What does this word mean? Is any of my Moors out there? What does this word mean? It means black. Or what you would say is dark. Okay? That's what that word means. Like, that's why even this word, amor, is a reference to Venus, okay, right? And this word more also is synonymous of night, okay? And let me show you this power. So sometimes when people get up now, they learn that this word morning seems to be very close to the word of being sad, though. Like, they've taken the word morning and made the word morning mean to be sad. Now, this is the linguistic, this is what I said, the code, what's going on in the codes. Because now, in this language, the original language that this comes from, this word that you're looking for that actually means sad is actually lament, not mourning. Because what mourning actually meant was around 6 o'clock p.m. It didn't mean 6 o'clock a.m. Okay, it meant 6 o'clock p.m. because during the 6 o'clock p.m., the sky would be progressively getting darker. And then this thing will go on called morning, which was a process of basically ushering out the synthesis, which is the sun. The sun is now going into another space, so we're ushering it out. It's like if I'm leaving the house for the night, I'm like, okay, y'all, we had a great time. It was man, I can't say enough. I'll see everybody tomorrow, but I'm about to go. So then when we're all leaving, like you ever left with your family, everybody's hugging, but you're coming back though, right? So if somebody starts crying and, oh, don't go, why? The sun's coming back tomorrow. I would hope. See, the reality here is that the sun doesn't come back tomorrow, then none of us are coming back. So there's no reason to be sad about something that's coming back. So the word mourning doesn't mean to be sad, but it is an observance. Okay? And now, if you put this word, though, at 6 a.m., now what you've done is you turn everybody upside down because the word is for 6 p.m. So everybody, good morning. And they're like, all off balance, all off time. And it begins in stuff like that. Because if you stopped with just interpreting this word as meaning bad, mourning, sad, then you missed how to even crack the code of this word because you missed the other half. You had this part, but you didn't have this part. And it's because of that people keep perishing. What it is to truly perish, the second death, to go below the speed of light, basically to where the spokes are broken and the actual weights come off, the gird. You see, this is all what's been talked about in the high levels of the ancient knowledge about weight. That was the name for Sirius, was weight. They counterbalance planets with this stuff. Why? It show you counterbalance yourself with these experiences in these time. Because in this time, there's only really one thing that you're learning. I'll speed it up for you. Time traveler all the way at this point. Like, I just gone quantum. Like, people be wondering why, I don't even talk to them on the phone or I don't call them. It's like, yo, if you didn't see me on the other side already, or you saw me but you couldn't interface, that just means you need to get yourself together. But for me to get on the phone in physical reality, talk to you through a droid with all of this stuff that I have going on for 2 or 3 hours, do you know how critical it is that I don't do that? Seeing that in 10 years, I've been pioneering and the tribe has been pioneering with me a massive message of awareness. And now we're ready to take it into another stage and bring it from the virtual into the physical. Now it's ready to go into birth. And it's a real thing for us. But while we're driving along the way, finding every single point, stuff that we have to do ourselves collectively, meaning that there's still millions of people in the world that will benefit from this. There are people with coffers enriched with thousands of pieces of monopoly money, valueless, basically. And they're just sitting on it, watching us trudge through building it. And by all means, we've been able to build it. And I'm going to show some of that here in a little bit. But it's just hearkening to what's really happening here. There's stuff that it's like it's teaching everybody around me who we really are and what we came to do. And also that by all means, no matter what you're saying, if you can't figure it out, then maybe you should go back to video number 1. But we got something going on here and nobody is going to shake this foundation. And from this foundation, we're going to build things for the kids. We're going to build things for the women. We're going to build things for the men. And we're even going to take things so beyond and so vast. We're going to start looking into these microscopes and telescopes and all these other different life forms and entities that have been all creations that we put together. And we're going to begin to synthesize and connect. And that's what we're going to do. And that because we know there's no such thing as death, we're going to prepare for a perfect loop. A perfect loop. A place that we build that every single thing that is going to benefit you and get you through the experience will be there. And that means having the contrast. That means having every single aspect of how we go through this journey. There's times that you may feel afraid, but then you will be comforted by those that are around you. There's times that you may feel that you can't go on any further, and then some other part of you will lift you up. There'll be times that you realize all of this is just to make you sharper and to give you a greater experience to know who you truly are, to teach you your powers. And we'll be there celebrating with you as you come into that aha moment. And then when you learn also that all of the real words you say and we all recognize, but they're not in English like, What is that? Somebody sent me that the other day. What is that? What is that, Sevan? Is the vibration of I don't know. You roam, right? But then there's another one called Tastes good. Tastes good. Like when you eat something that you like and you love because you have attached to that in your consciousness, this liking and loving thing, you remember, that is remembering. That is forgetting. So next time you even find yourself saying something, especially some of us do say a lot, and you find yourself going, start training yourself to go, and you'll find you will catch the next bridge of thought right away. You'll catch the next spoke, because it's tones and vibrations. Shh. All of that, that's the real language. And then what you have laying over the top of that is you have this English. Okay, so never forget that your highest level of connection is within the mantra. In the mantra, you don't need to be taught. You've been doing and yeah. You ever just somebody just that's the language, okay? So, it would be great if we just had like a listing of all of those. And then you could see how you speak and how you create, and then how you lay this other GUI called English, a GUI, another GUI on the top of that. And then that becomes your experience, that this is a layered experience. And this is why I keep trying to tell folks, man, there's layers to this shit. There's levels to this. I know you want to start off right now at 21 and just get right here. And by all means, if they slam you through the quantum mainframe and that happens, hopefully you still are able to shake off, just the experience of the what do they call that? The after effects of time travel. Meaning that there's a pace that we go at. There's predecessors. There's ancestors. There's a cycle, just like what you see with these waves right here. Like, look at these waves. What's happening here? There's a real flow here. You got some folks, they just want to jump ahead. They don't see the power of the cycle and the rhythm and the rotation. Okay? And I can explain this. Let me explain this a little bit more about this rotation, this wheel, these stages. So 1 to 7, you're an infant, you're a baby. You're an infant. You're sleeping most of the time. You're into yourself. You're focused on your own little world. You're mostly self-centered. 1 to 7 years old. And the interesting thing about these stages is that these stages, they happen every year. They happen every month. They happen every single week. They happen every day. They happen every hour. They happen every minute. They happen every second. They happen every millisecond. You get where I'm coming from? The same cycle. And that's why certain people have way more power, because they have way more precision. They're not trying to mess with the big cog. They're down there in the minuscule area of where that first microsecond is actually the first stage of an infinite baby's life. And they've been able to compress their consciousness and dive into that moment. I'm talking about beings that download everything you've been doing and everybody's been doing on Earth all in one moment, because it's just an algorithm. It's like, what's the algorithm? Bam, okay, I know everything. I'm all knowing about Earth and all those spaces in that cosmos that work on that spiral. And I know that system. And now, because of my precision tools, because if you notice in industry, that is the big difference. Those who have the factories that cannot produce the precision and cannot keep creating the same thing over and over and over again with a level of precision, that's always looked at as the cheapest stuff. But those who have the mechanics, the gauges, all the dials, the schematics, the experience to continuously produce exactly every time what is desired to be produced, That's the expensive stuff. And in that precision, there are these stages. And when you know these stages, you gain quantum precision. Why? Why do you need this? Because if you remember with the wheel, there was another thing that went with the wheel, and that was that people wanted it and thought that it should be perpetual. There was this thing about this perpetual wheel. It was like you couldn't even mention wheel without mentioning perpetual. I want to bring something up here. I'm even going to literally divert real quick from what I'm expressing. To just say, well, I think I diverted too far off the path. No. But just say, just relax, laugh with it. I was going to go into something real quick, and I just thought of just taking a break and just doing something odd. Just taking a moment. Yeah, let's just take a moment and breathe. Yeah. So we see these stages. We see this precision, this micro precision that you need to inherit in order to be able to work with things when they first started. A lot of people, they want to change something about their lives, but they keep going to the big cog. You got to go back to the small cog. You got to go almost to the time that you came into conception. I kept having this dream recently, and I was always ending up at my granddad's house. And dream kept happening over and over again. It's like the 8th time of having this dream over the stretch of 2 years. Until I finally thought of just asking my mom where I was conceived. And it just so happened it was at my granddad's house. And I realized, because every time I was going into this house, I was trying to find this secret. It was like a secret book. And this dream spanned out over like 9 different dreams. Like I'm in grandfather's house looking for this secret book. And there was always these different kind of agents and aliens and all this trying to stop me from getting to this knowledge. They even had a hidden door, a hidden room, and all sorts of stuff in these dreams playing out. But this is just a metaphor for understanding that you're hiding yourself from yourself with these stories of these aliens and these stories of all of these different things that are supposed to be different than you. You would then be hiding yourself from yourself. And it would be this mystery that you would keep looking for, this mystery book. Because we know the book's got the words and the pen and the snake and the wisdom and all that stuff all rolls together. And so my life is the dialogue of the book of all of our lives. I'm just archetypically experiencing something that I'm sending the transmission to you on so that you can reflect, like I have in these notes, that you could just remember what's really going on. Your conception point was when the secrets and all of that began. That's when the special thing that nobody wants to talk about, the thing they don't speak of, all of that, that's where the magic, as they call it, that's where it all was. So when you're going to your conception point, imagine some feel like that it's going to take them a lifetime or lifetimes to even get back to when they were a child. Some feel like they can do it only in one moment. I'm saying that those are the cycles, those are the stages. So if you know every single part of the stages, you can take yourself through these micro experiences in order to be able to activate the quantum drive, in order to be able to get into that space of yourself, which only can be accessed through precision. You would need the precision tool. It's a surgeon's work. And then you can go in there and actually fix the things that throw everything off balance later on. And even in the experience that you feel like you're having now. I'm talking about a quantum upgrade. And it just comes in the awareness. Now, these stages are something that we're going through. It's something that we're experiencing. And that's why always it's like, hey, look outside. Look over here. Because then you're not reading yourself. But then when you start reading yourself, so this first stage, you're totally into yourself. 1 to 7 years old. You're sleeping. Basically, you're focused little on the external, except for where you're getting your substance from. Mama, as long as mama's purpose at this stage is really just to give you nourishment. So too. Our arrival here is greeted by the moon, which is responsible for breaking down the sun. The sun is like meat. So the moon is like the mother who consumes that meat, which is too thick and too tough for the baby. And then it goes through this tube. All this is tube work, by the way. It goes through this tube, and then it gets to you. And that's how it begins. And in there, you're just in your own little world, thumb in the mouth, in the spiral. All this keeps happening, is happening, has happened. Okay? Has happened, keeps happening, it's going on now. So the first stage is you're into yourself for that first part of it. And then the second stage, 7 to 14, you're young, you're a teenager. Okay? And now you can see what happens. Now you enter into this realm of fantasy. Right? This is when you start thinking about and projecting things. 7 to 14, you start having what others would call friends. You would become attracted to the opposite sex even between 7 and 14. Meaning you start to become aware of opposites. See, when the child is younger, that first stage, there's no awareness of opposites because everything is within. I'll show you this knowledge will deliver you every single thing that you need. Every time you run these circuits, every time you turn this wheel with perfect knowledge, you're actually increasing your power and your awareness because your power is your awareness. Your amplification is what makes you static. It's what makes you present, what makes you appear. Okay? And so when you learn the sequences of how you move, you're able to begin to work with that in order to actually become a higher vibratory, let's say higher vibratory being, and then to be able to balance in those high vibrations with these mechanics. Now, this is an 8-spoke wheel. Okay? That's why he said it's the Dharma wheel. This is the 8-spoke wheel. 1 to 7. So now you're infinite. You're infinite. The baby moves on. Now you're a young teenager. 7 to 14. Now you're entering into this realm of fantasy. This is all about, teddy bears and flying dragons and unicorns. And so you're using now the projector. You're starting to get experience with how it works. Also, awareness comes in, this ego thing, as they call it, which has a use. You can start reflecting on yourself. This plays out in the reality that you start liking the opposite. Whatever you feel like is opposite, you become attracted to the opposite. And this doesn't always just have to do with what you feel like as a male or a female human. It could have to do with concepts. Let's say you're born in church. Now you want to be in the streets. Now, let's say you're in the white folks' household. Now you want to go see what's up with the Alkebalanians and the Tibetans. And it's like now every single part of the opposite nature of things, like, I just grown up in poverty. Now I want to see what it's like to be rich. This starts to come on at 7 to 14 as the projector starts to fire up. And then you get this next stage. The third stage is the 14 to 21. Now you're the young adult, I call it. The young adult. That's a funny term. I can remember the whole young adult phase. Many of us can also remember it. Some of us are actually going through it right now. Some are 80 going through the young adult phase. We got some 40-year-old young adults running around here right now, stuck on young adult phase, don't want to leave off young adult phase. What does it consist of? Power, identity, ideology. This is the first time, it's like the power thing. It's like your clique, your crew, everybody that's with you. The identity. My name ain't James. It's J-Dog. Okay, it's not what my parents named me. It's something else. I got my own ideology. I know how to do this. I know what I'm doing. Young adult. So you start becoming static. This is the egg phase. Because now you're literally building a shell around you. That's the egg, the ego. It's the shell that you're building around you. Okay? And it's being consecrated by an identity. And it's being fueled by the power that you've learned also from the projector. And now since you're tapped into opposites and you're no longer into strictly self, let the games begin. Okay? Young adult. Now 21 to 28, mid-adult, there's responsibilities. Immediately, once that phase can't last long, because in that phase, when you're talking about all this power and identity, all you're doing is creating a lot of responsibilities that you thought were going to be rewards generally at this phase because you didn't have any wisdom. And I'm going to explain that. Let's say, for instance, you're working to get this car. And you're like, yo, I got like 4 more weeks. And soon as I'm done, I'm going to put this down payment on this Toyota Tercel. And I'm going to be that thing. And that 2 weeks comes, and then 4 weeks come, bam, you go and you buy that thing and you jump in that whip and you ride out. And you think that because you worked hard, which you just did for that 4 weeks or however long it took you to save up, that now here comes your reward, this car. But in truth, the car is only another responsibility. Now you got to put gas in it. If it's nice, you got to keep people from stealing it. You got to wash it. So what you thought was a reward, which is a totally different thing. This is what happens with the words, because people start using all of the same words. So they think, oh, yeah, I'm going to go and get me a reward. No, what you got is a responsibility. And the more those responsibilities start piling up, now, you know, the young adults shift the responsibilities every time. And that's why you have a lot of these so-called adepts running around here, always shifting the responsibility and the blame over to something that most of the time they can't find, they cannot see, and they cannot control. Because that is that same aspect of trying to throw the responsibility of the most heaviest, grievous things over onto somebody else. Okay, or something else. Make it somebody else's fault beside your own. But you're the creator. Creator don't want to take responsibility for the creation. So you're almost like a father or a mother that doesn't want to take care of the child. This is pretty much a lot of people's condition on the planet, because they have all these different things that they created in their youth. And now they're running amok and they just want to neglect them. Oh, that nightmare from my past. And it's really about tapping into the quantum drive, because with the quantum drive, literally the will, you can actually have the power to whip things up, to actually take things out of that imbalanced stage, even with others, because others are self, and actually start really destroying evil, which is just the distortion and the ignorance that as creators, why are we really creating the big stuff? Why isn't there a conscious apple? Like this, I might take a moment to get some light right directly on me, but there's, all these other, Toyota and all Ford. And, even when we get like a half-conscious company, Tesla, everybody's like, yeah, but why haven't conscious people been able to just like create their own thing? Oh, because I guess we're a little young. I'll give it, we're a little young. Now it's time to get mature, because there's casualties to this. The bills keep carrying over to sisters, brothers, aunties, uncles, children. The bills keep carrying over because some are not grasping what is the will. Why am I here? This is what this is about. The will is why you are here. It gives you the strength. Once you know why you're here and where you're at, those is the orientation. Right? Like where I'm at, so I can become an original. This is what this is about. So now, let's say, for instance, now this mid-adult phase, it starts to become grievous. See, when the will starts taking on too much, right? The weight is what starts to really also throw it off balance. So that's why during this phase, and remember, this could be micro minutes also. This could be Bach tons. Also, quasars. This goes on over long periods of time and micro periods of time. I just don't want you to focus on just the age. When I say, 21 and 28, because you may say, well, I was mature when I was 8. And that's because your fast ass, no, I'm joking. It's just because, serious. Some people are moving so fast, they're not even going, they're skipping the phases. So what does it mean to skip a phase? Let's say, for instance, I had to skip some phases when I was younger because for a while, we didn't have a mother for a while, for just a moment, right? So I had to skip a phase and become the caregiver, the person who was actually taking care of things, the parent. So I skip a phase. But when you skip phases, it sounds great, and that's why I always do trying to tell those that I'm mentoring, it sounds great to jump really far ahead, but remember, it just means you get hit harder when you make mistakes. truly you want to go through the proper phases and cycles. But if you're forced to skip a phase, what you also do is you break spokes. There's no spoke in the wheel. It's like he just totally missed when he was 7 to 14 and then totally missed when he was 14 to 21. I just came out of the womb with a beard. You skip a lot of phases. Okay, what I'm getting at here is that there are people who have to skip phases, but just because you skip a phase, it doesn't mean there's not a repercussion. That would be just like you skipping a chakra or hastily building a chakra, which is a temple that you're supposed to be able to stand in, that's supposed to shape and mold and fashion your life into the next experience. But if you just skip it or you put it together really fast, it's broke. That temple is going to crumble at a certain point. That chakra is going to break. Some people call that quarter life crisis. Some people call that midlife crisis. Right? So what we're talking about today then is we're talking about having a quantum precision tool to be able to go back into the original chakras and actually make the adjustments to take you beyond the speed of light, to actually get you into a quantum vibration so you can bring quantum solutions. Okay, so now let's say this next phase. Got 28 to 35. This is the mature adult. Definitely I got more mature in this phase because this is the time where now you start to actually instruct from experience. Actual experience. There's still that. There's this thing called experience that many people went through, and it meant that you didn't actually have to go through that if you didn't want to. But if you want to, by all means, go ahead. But there are many that will try to speak to you from experience because they've already been through it. And the only way they can do that is to begin to reflect once more, to turn back inside and look at self, see what self has experienced and learn what took you to the next stage, what held you back. And then when you talk to others, you start instructing from that level of experience, okay? So now wisdom is in place. This is also the time where generally the cosmos will try to kick up a child for you. Okay, now remember, some are in these microcycles, so they had children, so they went through this phase earlier. Some went through it later. But this is the time, since you're now ready to instruct from experience, this is a perfect will. Now your wisdom is in place. Now it's time for you to actually be a parent of something. Now we talked about that parents could be a company or projection that you create. It could be an actual child, but it's just anything that now you have to rear it. You're personally responsible for guiding it into its awareness of who it is. Okay, so this is the responsibility that comes next in the wheel. And then finally, you have coming to 35 to 42. This is the observer. This is now where you start, if the wheel is working properly, because now you're starting to shift in for the long haul now. See, since you have gained this maturity and you know things are going to go on infinitely, and this is indeed an infinite race, why are you going so fast? Why are you going so slow? What is the optimal speed you should be going infinitely? You see what I mean? Because if you go too slow, well, shoot, this wave it'll roll right over the top of you and rip you. It'll rip curl you. And if you're going too fast, you'll just skip all the experiences and then you'll get tired early. You'll get bored because you don't know anything about yourself. You can't connect to yourself because there's nothing to connect to, because you went too fast and did not establish the connection. Then now you'll be out there way into one of these high-ass chakras with nothing to plug into and nothing to feel and nothing to connect with. Okay, and that's moving too fast. And then you'll get bored like Thoth, writing the book, I'm bored, all non-men of Kim. By way, Thoth's getting sleepy now. Basically do this. He's writing like he's bored. There's more going on in these books like the Emerald Tablets and all that than people think. They're deeper metaphors, like in the Kabbalion. It's showing that if you get into an infinite existence and you happen to get bored in the infinite existence, you're going to fall to what I guess people will call sleep. But sleep is interesting because it keeps going. So it's almost like you're falling downstairs because the dream continues and you get less and less control over the dream until at one point you wake up in a nightmare because nightmares have the ability to wake you up. So this is a machination then that was put together that if you start falling asleep too long, you start feeling the flame. Ah! What the hell was that? Demons, they're burning everything. What's happening? The world's collapsing. It's like, oh shit, where have I been? Well, oh great Bodhisattva, you have been asleep. The divine in me recognizes the divine in you. I am giving you now what you have left me, what you have bequeathed to me, about that we are yet the same. Get out of my face. I know what I'm doing. Ah. And this is pretty much the treatment in the beginning that anyone waking somebody else from 1,000-year slumber is going to get. People don't like to actually be waking up out of their sleep even to this day. But me, I'm never tired. I go to sleep just because, like, it makes me look normal. I'd be like sitting around here, like, especially on these full moons, I'd be like, where do I put my hands? Because I just like, I don't want to go to the computer. I meditate. I just meditate. My whole damn life is a meditation. Like, what shall we do? Let's not get bored. There's a lot of things going on. Let's dive into that. That's why I always put myself into the karma, which means the action. The unobstructive karmas, meaning that I'm not thinking about every single minuscule piece to determine if I'm doing something right or wrong. What is that? The cosmos is moving in both directions. Anything that I do is going to serve it anyway. It's all about what direction do I want to go in? What existence do I want to experience? I am the creator of this entire plane. This is real empowerment. Some people, they don't want to accept that they're still in the child phase. They don't want to accept that they're the creators. But should that weigh on me? Should I now start just lying to myself and telling myself I'm not the creator and the Lord of my own life and the master of my existence? That if I close my eyes, that everybody else's eyes is going to close and their lives are over too? Does that even matter to me? Shouldn't I really be concerned about what kind of existence that I'm going to be living through infinity? Since I am going to lay on, quote unquote, the deathbed one day and have to have it all figured out, not going to be able to lean on anybody else. Oh, great master, I'm going to have a lot of money so I can call in and spend millions of dollars on these masters that are going to heal me. Oh, great master, come and heal me. Here's $2 million. And the great master is going to be like, is that fiat? Serious. It's some of the things that we cook up in our mind about what is really going on here now need to be checked. And the way that they get checked is actually understanding just what the wheels and the cycles really are in existence, and actually be able to map out what you're doing and what you're experiencing to the wheel of life, so that way you can start building a perfect existence. That way you know where you are, and you also know where everybody else is. And then also, when we talk about synchronicity and how to synchronize things, then we even know what we're synchronizing. Right? And where are we really at, and where do we really want to go? And this would be because we actually had an infinite plan, something that our children's children could live in, something that would still be here, like fermentation has been here since the beginning, stuff that it's logical. You know, I want to take another sidebar here to just the knowledge of fermentation. So they were trying to build a 10,000-year model. Meaning that some folks that get paid billions of dollars, millions of dollars, have been called in by some of the largest companies, even Microsoft, to actually create a 10,000-year model, something that can last for that long. So instead of trying to figure out how exactly they did it, or what they exactly created, what I'm more interested in is what was the process that they had to go through to try to gather that kind of information. Because it then would be from that process that I could gather much more than just trying to build a 10,000-year company. And part of that process is the first thing is figure out something that has existed that long. First. Find something that has existed 10,000 years here. And it just so happens, because 10,000 years is a long time. Now remember, this is money on the line. So it's not going to be one of those fake stories from NASA. It's not going to be some old Paleolithic bone that is 10 million years old and from the Paleocinthian era and stuff that can't be verified. It's got to be, if I'm going to give you a meal ticket or two for this information, it's got to be based on something that you could check back. And so what they found out, that's where I always go. I go where the facts are. Where they found out is that it was actually fermentation that is an art or craft, because that's also what they're looking for. It's not just a happenstance, something that we've been doing from a skill-based level for this long and that has endured that test of time and still is with us today. Okay? So we're not just talking about something random here. And what was found out was that actually fermentation is just that. It is something that is a process in itself. To be able to ferment, to make beers, even to make kombucha, try to do it. It's not just something that you just, okay, I'm going to go do this. You got to know what you're doing. That is something that has to keep being passed down. It has to survive. It's a technique. It's a trade. It's a craft. Okay? And so what I learned ultimately from it, though, was that when you strip all of that back, what people learn how to do, because fermentation happens anyway, it's called decay. When something is decomposing, they learned how to take something that was decomposing and make something out of it that gave everybody more life, more happiness, more joy. See, there it is there. In the 10,000-year model is only the blueprint of the wheel in understanding how to put things in the proper place and how to keep things in perfect balance by anything that you think is the bad stuff. That's fertilizer for the tree. But you don't put it in your face. You don't put it in your mind. You don't put it all in your eyes. You don't take feces and crap and throw it in your mouth. No, you put it down there in the soil and you let things grow from it. You see? So that's what I mean by everything here is perfect. It's just about what place it's in. And yeah, you have people now putting feces inside of their mind, looking and learning and practicing things that are destroying their temple because they're placing heavy weights on the light areas. Like, you know what happens when you place all your problems in your mind? You're putting something, the mind is so fragile. It's like wind. It creates the wind in the world and the clouds. So now you're going to put weight into something like that. You put all these problems that you're creating inside of your mind. No, you put them beneath your feet. They are your foundation. They are what you're standing on. They are what makes you, you. They are what you're growing from. Now, do you got to keep going through that, though? Once you set base pillar, do you got to go back and do it again? If you do, that means you're not a great builder. There's a process. It doesn't, hey, no harm, no foul. I'm not going to give you the reward for putting us all in a building that crumbles. No. But I'm also not going to set you on the stake like others haven't done it too. And now you're the first person to ever make a mistake and not build a strong foundation. But I will charge you. I will charge you yourself to build. This means it's a challenge to build something that actually is able to withstand the weight of the times. To actually be able to hold more people than just yourself. I keep hearing people with their dolo journeys and adventures. As this shit pops, the last thing you're going to want to be is by yourself. You're going to be in there in the shelter. Did you hear something, John? Oh, shit, they're coming. I don't know what it is. You go outside. No, you go outside. Let's just stay here together. We're running out of food. I'm not into all of that. As the creator of my own space, the Lord of my life and existence, the controller of my dreams, the quantum explorer, why shall I fear death, dismemberment, and any of the other D's when I'm an O? I'm an original. You see, and if you adapt, though, to any of those lies, because remember what the lies are, I'll just say, okay, so remember the D's are the distortions, they're the divisions, right? But they have use. Everything has use. Do not go into duality. What is the use of distortion? What is the use? It's broken down. Right? Like, what is distortion? Broken down truth. It's like half-truths, partial truths, just a little bit of truth left. Whatever that means. So it just means that it's something that has been broken down so that you can start to ingest it. So that way you can get to the bigger things. So you even know what you're fathoming if we talk about macrobes, if we talk about large forms of consciousness, if we're talking about controlling the dreams and the projections, that you even have bearing of what we're even discussing. Or else, if this just becomes another one of your sitcoms, if this just becomes something that you conquistador, that you're able to now say, oh, now I know, I've met Sevan. You didn't meet me. I haven't met me. You see, this is vast. Did you meet yourself? That was the only way you were going to meet me. So that's what I'm saying. It's like the limitation game has to be over and must be over in 2020. And how it gets over is one, get a ring. first. That's why all the basketball games and all that stuff, which is all based on fight and all based on that, it's all about getting a ring. It's all about going through the cosmos or the network, putting the ball, which is the wheel, through the net and scoring. Okay? That's all about you coming into a total level of awareness and then getting the ring. So what is the next cycle? The next cycle, 42 to 49. Well, I remind everyone, now you're 35 to 42. Now you can observe on one's own energy patterns. You're starting to reflect again. You're drawing in. Remember, you were just out there. You were out. I'm going out tonight. You were out. Now you're starting to reflect. I'm cool. I'm going to stay in. I need my sleep. I got a lot of stuff to do. I'm trying to read some books. So this is happening. Okay? Now remember, these things have another metaphor. I'm teaching you this in earth speak. This stuff works. It puts implosion devices together, Vimana Shastras and all that. They're built with this quantum drive. Now, I have to interpret it to you in English, but some are already starting to see the other applications for this level of awareness and knowledge. The deeper you get with it, the deeper it actually starts to flow into things, which is perfect because it is precise. It becomes a precise tool. Let's let it flow all the way down there into the bottom base pillar of the temple where there's a hairline crack. Hairline crack in the manifold. It's getting too hot. And if that thing blows, all of this is gold. All of this goes. Who cares about your crystal crown chakra kingdom? If you get broke, all that shit's going on eBay. So this is about getting a ring. Every single level of life, mastering. I leave nothing behind. It's all always with me, but everything in its place. How does one do this? Right? So this is what we're talking about. 42 to 49. Now you're settled in. It's like a tree. He's settled in now. Okay. Finally, look at this. It's only 49, and this is the wheel. Okay. And the being is just now getting settled in. As if it's aware that it actually has infinity. Some of y'all be looking at folks right now, and you're like, man, why can they be asleep? Why are they asleep? Well, it could be because they still realize they have infinity to wake up until they hit the fire. So stop tripping off of it. Get on to building something already. It's like, if you woke them up, what would you be waking them up to? Your nightmare? You better get something built. So 42 to 49 settles. You're settled in your aims. You aim to find and merge with the truth. Because now you have so much to reflect on. You've seen so many things now through the experiences. Now you're trying to be like, so how can I live the ultimate? Now, it's unfortunate that you think the truth is good, just good. You want to play the truth now. Now you want to play the supreme force, acting like the bad things didn't teach you anything and that they didn't let you see the truth. Now your truth is Christian, Jesus walks kind of straight jacket that you've got yourself in. That's true now. That's doubly dead, actually. If you're 42 and 49 in that spoke of your consciousness, in that chakra of your consciousness, building that kind of framework, it's all coming down if it hasn't come down already. So this is about understanding what is truth really. The highest truth is the merge. It's the merge. It's the realization that everything here, once you embarked on the journey outside of self, all became an illusion for the first part of you thinking that you're just a male. See, or just a female. This is where all this comes from. It's agitating people now. As above, so below. They say it all the time, but they can't connect all the things that are going on down here with how that maps out up there. They say, Sevan, what about transgenderism? And you mean androgyny? If you're looking at this small, distorted little piece of what is trying to come across in the physical plane with them trying to tell these kids the LBGTQA plus ABCs about how they're not really a male and really a female in their distorted way, well, that's obviously how that will play out. But on the higher levels, what is being said? I'm not looking in the shit for the truth. On the higher levels, what's being said? On the higher levels, saying that, hello, you, the person crash landed in that ship. Here's the thing about the ships. Like, the ships kind of have drives that either go in one direction or another. So when you jump in, you actually believe that you're just going in one direction. But that's why you actually were the being before you jumped in the ship, because that being actually can go in both directions. It's actually a cosmos. It's masculine and a feminine, as you would call it. But there's also like a neutral in between there where you can kind of stay in balance, because all of the power numbers for balance all have a counterweight stuck in between them. And I'm going to show that really briefly here. All of the numbers for balance have a counterweight stuck in between them. Come on now with the plus sign. There it is. Check it out. This is what I found odd in the numbers, and I finally was able to explain it and figure out what was going on. The path is full of all types of riddles. I'm like, what is this, a role-playing game? Y'all been playing too much World of Warcraft. Whoever built this realm is like, damn, we don't level up till we hit the next 150,000 experience points. So check it out. You got this one, okay? That's your 3. There's a balance. There's a balance in here because, you know, your scales, you always got your balance in the middle, okay? So this means that the numbers that you call even are not actually the balanced numbers in the way that you understand the word, which is just, again, wordplay, because all the evens don't have a balancing component, right? But in English, this word even means balance. It's just wild, okay? So here, you got the numbers 3, you got the numbers 5, you got the number 7, and you got the number 9. Now, if anybody wants to argue with these other numbers in their philosophies, let them have at it. But if they're going to argue against the 9, because they're arguing against the 9, then it's ridiculous. How do you obtain balance? Because you have a counterweight. This is the counterweight, okay? So just like even this cycle that they call the 8-spoke wheel of Dharma, there's a counterweight in the center. They say, oh, what about? That's 8. No, there's a counterweight in the center. And that's just what I was explaining about with all of those different designs that I showed earlier, that you're actually the counterweight. And in order to inherit all your powers, you can't be in here believing that you're just one small aspect of consciousness, whether that's a color, whether that is some level of what you would say is of gender preference, okay? Because the androgynous aspect of the character are still in play right now. Like, you got people actually on YouTube arguing about this right now, fighting, dissing even the ancient cultures and everything, misconstruing everything. They're blind, and their gods are blind to the truth of, because you have a problem with women, or because you have a problem with men, which is you having a problem with yourself. Now, you've chosen to try to make one greater than the other, so then you don't even get a chance to be invited into the holy marriage to see how they're both work together, always will be together, could never operate in what we would think as separate. The moment you would pull them apart, everything would power down. There would be nothing, no thing. So all of this is part of one component, and that is supreme knowledge. That is master knowledge. And those who don't know that, it's easy to tell them. It's easy. That's what I'm saying. Like, what separates the neophyte from the adept? It's so easy. The moment they go into it, oh, and this one was the higher one, and back in the times when the matriarch, and it's like, yo, you're totally off. But that's okay, though, because you'll have some cycles to figure out that it actually started off with the androgynon, and it is still going on as an androgynon. We have a positive, we have a negative, and we have a neutral. But when we damage our consciousness to start making preferences, if you want to debase that all the way down to the sexual aspects or the sexual aspects of things, just the flesh, then by all means, go ahead and do it. But if you want to ride to the top of the ladder of lights to see how everything is all blended in, and how if you don't have all those components, then ye do not have life. And the master of those components can heal all things. He and she who is familiar with the positive and the negative aspects of the body, the sun and the moon aspects of the body, and the other celestials inside the body will reign supreme in those who are confused. Right? And then also teach confusion, then they will be blind, and they will also get to the point where they become powerless. And what is powerless? Powerless is when it's always something else's fault, always something else's responsibility, and then it even becomes to where you cannot even see what you're talking about, meaning that people describe things that they have never seen and say to you that that is the problem. And then they want you to play this game. They want me to jump in and play the game. Why would I? Would I not be elevated above that? Let's say in elevation, if there's going to elevate over something else, elevate over division. People always say, I have all of this and we're really up here with it. Elevate yourself over division, okay? Use the word so it actually gets you somewhere rather than the same place. So we find in the last part, in your merger with truth, if you finally come to this awareness where you're back where you started, look at this. You're seeing that going within, which was the same within that you started with, was the origin point. But see, the whole journey, though, was fun. Now, if you're whining about it, if you're crying about it because you're a spoiled baby, that's what happens when you get everything. I'll let you drink that for a minute. Some people are whining and crying all the time because they get everything. They get oxygen. They get water. They eat heavily from the emotional basket. They consume. They turn themselves into they take light because we're all consuming light. So they take light and they convert it into their emotional density. And they wonder where the fleshly forms come from. And then once that starts happening, then they eat and they consume it because that is the sacred marriage. It's consumption. You're eating yourself. What do you taste like? Think about it. You eat yourself. Your body is constantly consuming itself. It's consuming the fat. It's consuming it's consuming. Even when you're not eating something, it is still consuming itself. So baste yourself. I found myself the other day, I had just come out of one of those crazy workouts and the second day was in and I was sore. But now since I got this whole vehicle, I got it super polished. And that's what I'm going to be getting at here in a moment. I'm going to show you why, because we got real activity feeds coming into our new social network. But I have this thing I want to show the power of what acid can do. Because, there's all this alkaline, male, female, black people, white folks. And I'm like, this is really crazy with the kids. They're going to keep doing this. You find the power in all of them, everything that you created. So I found the power in acid because I was like, I know when the body gets acidic and I see how it changes my mood, my temperament, my reflection points and everything. And it's just maintenance on the vehicle. It's like, okay, beep, beep, beep. Your vehicle's getting acidic. You need to balance out the acid. So what's the easiest job? Again, grab the secret sauce, man. You put the magnesium in the bath, man. This is like, it's not rocket science. Or maybe it is. It is magnesium. It is the highest grade. And that is what they use to make rockets. So you soak in this and it gets all the way down to the cells. So I'm just sitting there because now time has to be spent. And I'm sitting there soaking in this tub and I'm like, man, you basting, ain't you? It's like 45 minutes in this hot water. And I really felt this stuff getting into my bones. And I was like just laying there and I wasn't even going to move. I wasn't going to do anything until I felt like I was soaked enough. And then once I was soaked enough, I started massaging the areas like the calves are where, the bigger muscles. And as you squeeze them, the acid, since it's now almost at the surface, it starts to come out. And as I'm squeezing it, I start having these brilliant ideas. I was able to write the magnum opus 3 days straight in my notes that I had still there on the iPad, and I was like, when the acid is releasing, the consciousness is ready to regurgitate everything that is in the deep. So you learn the difference between the acids and the alkalines. Let me give you another one here. Now notice how we have this thing. I want to pull up the exact notes on this because this is some powerful stuff about the symbolism. This symbolism within this this snake, okay? Because everything has this responsibility. Everything has a place, right? But it's the snake's place to actually be on the bottom, right? Like to be there on the bottom, or what you would call the bottom, okay? Why? It's like me talking to my parents again. Why? Because the snake crawls on its belly. Let me show you all the symbolism here. It crawls on its belly, right? So the belly is very important in all of this, because what is the snake really? It's the intestines. Even all the way out to the male sexual organ and the female sexual organ, back through the intestines, that is the snake, okay? And it's on the belly. Now, again, to say every snake is bad is just as silly as saying every human is good. So we're talking about deep knowledge here. Not all snakes are poisonous. So there's always a balance in this. So there's a serpent that actually understands its fire and how to keep it in balance. And then you have another serpent that's greedy. It swallows everything whole. That's what the whole symbolism is also about. Now, notice when a person doesn't chew their food really well and they swallow everything whole, right? That's when they start actually creating the fats and the imbalances and the problems and all those different things. And that is subconscious to someone who is also emotionally greedy. They just swallow all the experience whole, right? And this becomes the density and the foundation of what we're standing on. So we're not demonizing it, but it's a lens into how it works. And that's why when you look at the birds, right, who have their own ravenous issues, but still they peck. Literally the entire reality. Who put this together? Oh, I did. Pecking at their food. Small pieces. Get this little beak. You know, you seldom see birds except for those, what I call them bridge birds, because there's bridge life forms that, you know, they're kind of like the creations we put together to make other things happen in the DNA when we want to make jumps. But the original ones, they just peck. You know, they're pecking at little pieces. It's never like the big portions at one time. So even within nature, you have the supreme knowledge always encased, always perfect, and always expressed properly. For he who knows the truth, which is the truth is he is all and she is all things. Because you notice I could have easily got hung up on the snake thing. I could have never been able to crack the complete code of the symbolism or anything if I just went into snake hating. And then just bird loving. You see what I mean? So this is what this is all about, is because that one metaphor and all the metaphors that I've been given during this conversation are the continuous actions that people keep doing that are getting them not the reality that they want to look for, not the one they want to exist in. They just keep doing this same thing. And that's why it's like a habit. And what parents do is they break you from habits. What elders do is they break you from habits. They break you out of those destructive cycles where it's like your wheel. It's like, what are you doing? You're just going to keep crashing with that. This is how you get things back in line. This is how you get things in order. First of all, there is an order. You know, it's like when you're younger, you hear about the order and you're like, I'm making my own way. I'm making my own way here. It's just, I don't know. I don't want to do it like everybody else. Do you know this is why the society progressively gets crazier and crazier? Because everybody doesn't want to do it like the previous. So that means they got to dress more crazier. That means they got to make more crazier music. That means they got to explore and experiment and bring more things in that haven't been figured out yet, because we want to get a change. So that's where all that comes from. So as an observer, that's where you have to be. Just an observer. He's like, I see. Every generation must have its own thing. It must have its own identity. So thus, it looks to be nothing like its previous generation. It wants to change every single aspect. It wants to change the music. It wants to change the clothing. And it wants to make it more wild, make it more radical. Not making it feel dull, but more radical. But over a procession of 10, 20, 30 times, soon the actual existence itself became so opaque, so distorted, so blurred from what it truly is and always has been and should be. Most in that projection become lost until they reflect back again to their originals and put on a pair of bell bottoms and get ready to actually do what we came here to do in the beginning and what we were always doing, being infinite, uniting things, bringing this knowledge that once you get that one ring, and this is where you can dance, okay? This is a real reward. Once you get that one ring, you don't have to actually repeat the entropic sides of the cycle anymore. Okay? I'll say that again. Once you get a ring, you don't have to experience the entropic sides of the reality anymore. You don't come offline. You don't get bored. You ignite the perpetual machine. See, the perpetual machine in itself, this is the machination, the human being, the perpetual vehicle. Once realizing that there is no good and bad, there is no white and black, there is no, all those different things become nullified. You have no what? Friction. Okay, because in the mechanics of perpetualism, okay, like perpetual mechanics, why is it that they always say that something is not perpetual? It's not that there's not great machines being built. Okay, and what I'm saying is that there's these new motors, right? These electric motors, these lithium, and they run so efficiently. It's almost like you don't got to put that much gas. You don't have to put that much fuel or energy inside of them for them to give you closer to the output of the fuel that you put in, right? But they still can't be qualified as perpetual. This is a real thing. This is the highest level of mechanics, is the idea of something being perpetual. That's why I said the highest invention was the wheel. But what are they saying? They're still looking outside for it. Inside, what we're saying is that there's a way to configure yourself. Because this is what happens. You can see some devices and they run so well off magnets. But they'll generally always have some pieces touching. Some piece will be touching, whether it's like one bearing rubbing against something as it's going back and forth. And what they say is that because there is friction there, eventually, even if it takes 500 years, that rail will eventually wear off because of that friction. And then that makes this device not perpetual. So it's important to, again, to understand these mechanics, because you understand the fine difference between really efficient motors and motivational systems, really efficient ones, versus the creme de la creme, perpetual. And the perpetual definition, to have a perpetual motor, means there must be no friction. So if you look back into the consciousness then, which operates as a wheel, and then say, well, how do I create a consciousness without any friction? Then right away, you can see that if every spoke, every turn of your mind is constantly conflict, which is you not recognizing what is you're experiencing and what is its place, you're creating friction. And then whether you believe it or not, it's still wearing down your existence until you're eventually going to get bored, which is when you don't want to keep driving in the cycle anymore. And then you're going to be ready to leave, which means going to sleep. It doesn't mean you're going to be like gone. And people need to kind of understand that now. I feel like the conscious community becomes so abstract in what they want in their projections. It's like, I just don't want to be here anymore. Where do you want to be though? I never thought about that. Well, shit, if you're not, okay, stop. If this is going to work, this secret thing you've learned with the manifestation stuff, where are you going to manifest yourself into? Like a black bag or something? Like just like a space of like a nothing? Yes, that is where I want to be. Okay, well, get in the closet then and sit over there for a while. And then I'm sure you're going to come out and probably even check your phone and want to get back into this. Let's get way more cohesive with this experience. Like I said, that's what's going to be the running title for this show, is Don't Delete Your Life. I just let it be gone quantum. And I put it that way because a lot of these teachers are teaching, especially the Tibetan master, and he's so master, and he says to just throw it all away. It means nothing. And it's like, but he's not paying rent. Like he doesn't have 2 kids though. Actually, they're not even letting women in there. I don't know what epoch they're from. Maybe we'll get on that ring. But I think that, to be honest, people are taking it too literal. You need to be in their culture, living with them, going through that experience to understand what they mean by, hey, let's wipe this mandala painting out, which could only be an expression of, hey, don't let it get to you. Never let anybody steal your joy. Don't fucking grasp on to stuff that you're always going to have anyway. If it's the truth, it's going to be with you everywhere. But if it's an illusion, it's going to disappear the moment that you get real. That's how it's going to be. And if you want it any other way, then you want to go into Wonderland, Alice. And there's no problem with that, but I don't want to go there with you. And that's what I'm also saying about me, my tribe, the people around me. We don't have to go to Wonderland for anybody that wants to play around with the mechanics of the great creation in a way that is not balanced and harmonic with what the ancient laws and the gauges and the measures in which we have now, all this power and technology is showing us is true. So that's what I said. When we ride the wave, it may be difficult to get on it. Like I think when I jumped on this phone call, I probably wiped out right away off the wave. I was like, hey, we can't even hear where you're coming from, but I'll get back up on that thing again. But do you know what it feels like I woke up 3 a.m. preparing all of this stuff and putting all these things together and then re-upgrading the software. They deleted all of the different things. I put it all in there, perfect for everyone. But then if you start and it doesn't come out perfectly, what do you think you feel like? Well, as an adept, you feel like doing it again. You see, because you know what? The medicines, they don't make the person. They don't make you spiritual. The books, they don't make you spiritual. I've seen people, they go on these long ass journeys. It's like 8 weeks on the journey. I'm in ayahuasca, I'm in the jungle with this, and we're out here, and they come back the same person. I'm like, man, are we even drinking the same ayahuasca? How did you make it back here with your ego? Like, I just want to know anyway, just from my own memoirs, like, you just drunk 8 weeks of ayahuasca and you are still talking about, division and all this kind of stuff. Like, man, we're drinking this different medicine. But no, it's not that. It's just that those medicines don't make the person. They can help you, sure. They can improve things for you for a moment, sure. But ultimately, it's your choice to whether you want to regress back into that same mode and just bring ayahuasca residue with you. Because then you can brag to everybody that you've been on this journey. It's like, I get so sick of it, I don't even watch it anymore. That becomes my purging. And I say, oh, I got to purge. It's like a purge from the whole conscious community. It's like, I'm sick. And then I got better. And then I'm back again. I'm like, okay, so let me just go into still pioneering things. So here it is. That last 49 to 56. This is the last stage of the wheel and the spokes of the ladder of lights. The step that you take, you're now ready to travel beyond the chakras. And it's very important that again be just hammered in properly. 49 to 56, the 8th cycle, ready to travel beyond the chakras. Because see, then you'll realize all the little games with the kiddies, playing with the Legos, building all of their structures and different things and making things have more value for them. And all that stuff is still a part of the world of the creations. Wow, you're the creator. And enter the 9. You see what I mean? Like, you better come correct. It's like, you can't even come. You won't even be getting into the greater level of the orgasmic nature of existence if it's still somebody over across the table you beefing with. Be like, yo, is that Charlemagne over there? You know what I mean? You got still somebody you're beefing with over there. It's like, that's not how the mechanics work. You just understand their place, right? So that should be clear. So now let's think about this. Let's reflect upon this. Sometimes, and in many cases, we do what we hate. That's why we don't want to actually start running the judgment game, because then it starts getting run on you and then you get billed. Like, all this is about now, right now, is cosmic banking. People are getting billed. They've overvalued life and the emotional experience. Right? And now they're burned out. They're in debt. So their wheels are not really turning. It's like the ka-ching, ka-ching, like on a slot machine. The wheels are no longer turning. They're not lining up. They're not balanced. That's what that all is about. So now we'll hit a 777 real quick and we'll start looking deeper into that. We do what we hate. This is why we don't want to start this game going of the yin yang, yin yang, yin yang, yin yang, yin yang. It's like ping pong with a master Chinese. You're like, why? Because you possess, but you don't want to be possessed. Right? Like, think about possession. Oh, how horrible. How horrible. Oh my goodness. This is demons. But yet you possess. She's mine. He's mine. It's my baby. Nobody's going to be with her. You better go nowhere. Same thing. Same thing. No. It's not the same thing, right? Right? Or is it? This is what happened. Well, I'm not doing it that much. According to who? Like you're on what cog? It may not be a lot for you, but anybody below you is catching the flux. Meaning your generations are going to catch the flux. Your kids are going to catch the flux because that little bit that you think that you're doing, that you're judging everybody else for also doing, and you're not doing as much, you're going to get billed for that. So here's another one now. We also hate to get judged. We hate it. Like somebody says something about us. It's like, I really don't like the way that they bring the message. What? But you hate it to actually be done to you. It's like that person is not there. Okay, I don't think they bring the message so well. What? This is why it's great to just keep encouraging everybody, right? Like, hey, namaste. I see the divine in you, you alien. I see you, you sexy alien. I get it. Like, I don't want to start just hitting you with the bombardments, like boom, 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 boom. You're the worst. Because then you're like, I'm only doing a percentage then of something that is much more greater in another space. More importantly, since it's all the same thing, even when I do it a little bit, what do? This is a big point. Even when I do it a little bit, this is why it's great to train oneself not to do it. Once I do it a little bit, let's say this is my wheel, right? And my wheel is turning, right? Wherever directions, hopefully both directions, Widdershins and diesel, it's a Taurus, right? So what happens though, when I put a little hiccup, like a rock, it's like boom, like I just chunk it off. Let me just chunk it off. Just a chunk missing. There you go, just a chunk. This is what happens when you start doing it. You divide. You separate yourself from something, right? Boom, every time you're like, oh man, I don't like this. I don't like this person. You can't find its place. You can't find where to put the weight on the wheel. So then you break out half of the wheel. And then you keep doing that. You keep causing damage to your wheel every time. So what happens is this is not a strong wheel. Remember, this is still the wheel, right? So this is not a strong wheel. Every time it speaks or every time it spoke division. So it gets broken. They still need to, that's division. Let them do what they want. What the hell? Like, you're wasting time. Don't you have something to read? Like I'm here now. It's like I see it all now, but it really took me to get old enough, to be honest. Like it took me to actually really have a child and to watch the whole process and then reflect on myself and then see how that was all working and feel it inside. See how is this making you feel? These terms and things that you've agreed to, is that really how it is? Are you sure? Really having that time and that opportunity to actually, and the willingness, that's what it is. Look, there's another word, the willingness. Hey, write that in your notes. The willingness, because you gotta want to do this. Like if you're looking for somebody else to encourage you and to force you, that's not perpetual. Too much friction. You have to want to do this. And when you want to do it, there's a lot that's available for you. There's tons of applications for this. Like this stuff works in an entirely different way. Like I said, I'm just bringing you the rudimentary part. Like I've been all over the dream world. Like last night I was like, yo, do I even need to go? Like I go places in 15 minutes. I'll be all up in there. I mean, I'm like, I kid you not. I walked up on my mom in another timeline, and she didn't know who I was. And I was walking down, and it was in like a mall, and I was coming down, and she was walking towards me. I'm like, oh, mom. And she was like, you're not my son. I was like, damn, this is deep. And she went to the bathroom, and then there were people there that said, hey, could you believe my mom doesn't even know that I'm her son? And then people started gathering around. I'm like, man, these dreams are lit. This is the kind of, and I'm there. I'm not like gazing beyond the great beneath and seeing myself in the shadow eye of the moon, of the dark crystal. No, I'm actually there like, yo, I'm going to drink out of this water fountain. I was like drinking out of the water fountain. I'm like, this is cold. Why am I getting there now versus before? Well, I got rid of the friction. I stopped letting my power be taken away by things that I put into play. It's like, I put you on. What are you talking about? Like, all that you're functioning with, my ancestors built. So I'm going to let you play kitty with it because you know why? You know why? Okay? You know why? Because you know how when you're doing things that are like silly, like monotonous things, like washing dishes, right? Laying in the tub, massaging your leg. You have the most brilliant ideas. And they say that's because you disengage from your consciousness, you get your motor skills busy, and then you're able to come up with the big thing, right? I want everybody to take a moment and bear witness to that at times when you're doing stuff and it's just monotonous stuff. Like, I ain't even play a video game. Somebody saw me on PUBG the other day. They were like, "Are you Sevan Bomar? Are you understanding?" I was like, "What's good?" They were like, "This is impossible. I was just looking at your video the other day, man." I was like, "Man, if I could ever connect with this dude and you're here." And I was like, "Yeah, it's a great thing that I'm here, right? If everybody was judging PUBG, then maybe I wouldn't even be here." And that's how it works. That is what's making me be everywhere. And that is quantum. So anyway, but that's the happiness, that's the joy, that's the existence. But remember, there's a connect point. There's a connect point. I'm not done here today at all. Like, there's a connect point, because the big connect point is, of course, with each other. The big connect point, the aha moment that we've all been having, like our brothers and sisters right now, they're even traveling across the globe, like our sister Neva and our sister Wijby and our brother Mark and DeAndre is here, even in Costa Rica. And I can go on and on and on and on and on about those that have come into this. It's been miraculous for them as we all keep coming together, and we're knocking down all of the limits. That's what we're doing, because we're able to go to the blueprints. Like, look, I don't care when you stop doing it, but just at least know that this ain't going to get you nowhere. And we're sober enough, we're mature enough to say, yeah, this is not going to get me nowhere. And it's okay if you want to stay there. You got the brake engaged, homie, but don't be mad if I drive off, but at least you know the brake is engaged. And that's why I was saying about in the beginning of this conversation, it's like to keep watching people perpetuate and do the things that the same thing they're complaining about I can't jump in there with you anymore. To watch people so desperately grasp upon their own egos and all the different fanciful creations that they put in their mind and then try to throw it back up onto your plate. It's like, I'm not going to get into that anymore. Why? Because I also, and this is what I was bringing up here, what is most important is that there's a thing here, and this is one of the biggest things you should know. There's a thing here about all of this, right? Because some may say, well, I'm doing that already. And I have my thing. It's happening problems. I'm doing what you're saying. I know what you're talking about. You're just not telling me anything I don't know already. That's the ones that, they're so elevated. They always got to get like one step above you. There's the thing. In the cycle, we have this thing that we call an anu. Okay, so this is where we get the word annual, right? Which just basically means one turn, okay? Like a turn, right? So the rotation must go completely round. Now, because everybody, especially based on their uniqueness, I love to put that and bring that into play. It's as unique as your fingerprint, has a different orbit. Some have long cycles to still go through. Some are almost in the center working with the precision, right? What happens though is that anything that you're looking to apply though, and to get functioning and working, it needs to go an entire term, okay? It needs to go an entire term. That's why the word turn and term are sounding the same, because the entire term or turn or course, okay? Now, some people looking at it as the curse. Like, I don't want to be here anymore. It's demonic. It's cursed. The earth is cursed. It's your course. So as you're going through your course, what happens though is you got to complete one anu. That's why I said you got to get a ring. Even if you get almost there, just almost there. Because that's when stuff gets that's when it's all on the line then. You see, like I had masters already talk to me earlier, and they were like, those are my OGs. They're like, yo, Sevan, I'm going to tell you about this time that I was about to become a millionaire. And I was in China. And I was in the back of the cab. And I had the briefcase full of the assets that I was going to go and take in. And somebody drove by on a bicycle and grabbed the briefcase right out of the back of the car and kept going. And I got out of the car, but because the traffic was so dense, there was no way I could catch this guy. And there my $1 million went. And the lesson and the moral of the story is, when you get close, don't slip, because that's when the heat is really on. And I found that in life to be true. I found that when you get really, really close, you got to be really, really on point. That's why right now, I run the quantum drive. I don't work with the frictions and the divisions and all that because I got something I need to pull off. And there's a lot of people involved. There's a lot of souls involved. There's a lot of children involved. There's an infinite future here involved. This is a high stakes. It's a game nonetheless, but a high stakes one. To lose here, to push back from the table would be grievous. It would make one ravenous. So it is very serious here to counterbalance these weights properly in this projection, especially with these heavy cruisers and these big celestial bodies. Like as a soul, when I see human beings, I see souls. And as the power of a soul, like that's a unit of energy. You know that, right? Like 6 souls. Go look it up. Souls are units of energy. So it's like, this is 10, 12, 14 souls. Do you know how many quantum heavy body cruisers you could run on 12 souls of kilojoules across the cosmic projection, navigating the abyss where there is no end? Do you understand what infinity means and how we have to gauge our entire experience to pace ourselves for forever? I'm pacing myself for forever. Do you know anybody working on that right now? They are finite, and they are also a part of me. And that's why I say to eliminate all that finite experience, like throwing stuff away in the trash, imagining it's going and disappearing, and even actions when you say things to people, not being mindful of where your words are going, how that's affecting people, not thinking about how much people have invested in your life and into your existence, how your own mother and your own father have actually invested and sacrificed and put in all of their time and their work to create you, for you to snarl up your face. When you've been given water and when you've been given breath, the most precious things, but yet you want more. Now you want entertainment for things that are lesser. You want to eat smaller pieces and become greedy. Crawleth upon thy belly, not having the legs again, old serpent. This is really what this is about. This is the quantum existence. And so this is the kind of things that I need to hear. This is the kind of things that I need to breathe. This is the kind of connection that I need to have in order to survive. That's what I've done to this vehicle. And that's why I said when you're eating yourself, because that's what you should be aware of that you're doing, old Ouroboros. When you're eating yourself, make sure you taste good. That's why it's important to invest in self. How is everybody feeling today? It's like, is your mind answering for your legs? You got your knobbly old legs over there. Is your brain answering for your lungs and your stomach when you got rinions and all sorts of tapeworms and stuff moving through you? Is your brain saying, yeah, we're okay? Because it's narrating your life now like it's a Facebook and like it's an Instagram that everything has to be curated now? Have you started talking about yourself in third person, what he and she wants to do, separating yourself between multiple bodies, distorting and dividing yourself, yet ye want power? Can you press beyond? Man, come on with it. Anyway, let me start showing some of the actions and some of the deeds here. I didn't get in here to just tell you magnificent things, even though it is great. I also came here to show you magnificent things. And this is also even why I haven't even been here mostly on this microphone, is because I've actually been also building what I know actually brings a solution. So let me look at my notes. One more thing, the metaphysical singularity, because everybody's got their boogeyman. They didn't set themselves up for another 2012, but this time it's 2020. They've changed the timelines again, and here it is now what's going to happen. Prophecy, prophet, prophesy. What is going to happen? Singularity, what does that mean? Well, I gave you one part of it, how everybody wanted to jump into VR and play around with ray trace chicks and dudes that they can actually get stimulated by packs that they put on with your own Kickstarter even right now, to where you can feel the expression, and then people start rubbing on the silicone until they realize that, it's not real enough, right? I want more, but yet you breathe air, okay? So what singularity is about the awareness that everything here, including this right here, you get on one, right? I mean, way up there. And you look at this again, and you tell me what you see. I'll tell you what I saw. I saw self. I'll tell you that even on a time in which I was lofty, looking at everything high above, seeing everything, and then realizing, because I had that visual, being able to be in a space where there's not trees around you, not a room around you, not a people around you, not a circle around you, but a place where you can see infinitely and broad enough to where you can open up the real eye of Ra with all the measurements and the machinations and all of that. When you open it up big, then you see the whole form. And it'd be sitting back there like, hello, like a big Cheshire cat back there grinning at you. And then you have a choice. You have a choice to either fall to pieces in utter insanity, of being aware that all is really self and that every single thing, even if it's plastic, is all coming from the earth, which is all one being, or you laugh and you open up your crown chakra, you smile, and you take it all in. That's what it is to be a quantum being. There's no separation. You take it all in. You cry, you laugh, and you get motionless, unmovable. And you can do all those simultaneously. This is balance, full spectrum. So, some last thoughts here. Quit handicapping yourself and others around you. It's like this whole thing, it's like we build together. We go together. It's not about one person. Oh, this one person responsible for this. Seven didn't do this. Seven didn't do that. What are you doing? We're moving together. This is a quantum solution. Stop handicapping yourself. Why are you not talking to me? You're handicapping yourself. We can talk. But there's other things that you need to learn before we do. Especially to really be having a great conversation. This is where I talk at. I don't answer questions. But how I truly like to communicate, I need way more peripherals. I don't need limitations in order to be able to communicate who I am. And there's spaces. That's why the dream world is the quantum space. What does it reveal? What does it reveal to be quantum? It means that in every single point in that moment, you're there. You're in. You love like you've never loved before. But it's only because you can let go. Think about it. The dream world is the quantum space. You'll have a dream and you'll be so entangled. But then in the morning, when the morning comes, you forget. It'll wash all away. And you won't even grab it. You won't even be like, oh no, I want to go back to that dream. This is how you have to treat your life in order to have yet greater experiences and to allow the others that are around you that are having this experience with you to not build up karma with you because you keep thinking about it. Right? I mean, we're talking about the what we call the evil karmas, the ones that must be paid back in the galactic banking systems of debt, where you were trying to find somebody that owed you something. Okay? And so when you want to blame somebody for something, then you're trying to find somebody that owes you something. Right? And then when you say, pay that debt to me, which is what you're saying even energetically, pay me back, now you're putting them in debt. They then give you what it is that you're demanding from them. Here. And they give it to you. Now they're in deeper debt. So they become even more diabolical with what they do to earn. This is what's happening all on the spiritual plane in the exchanges of the energy. There's not a time that we're going to be going to where you're going to be processing a different existence. This is all existence now, and it's a continuum. So like I said, either you're going to whine, you're going to go to sleep like a little baby, or you're going to wake up. You're going to wake up and you're going to stand on the foundation that you build, and you're going to bring others, which are self, into that, and you're going to see all of the whole experience rather than just little parts of it, and it is going to make you wise. But it is a strong dose. It's a strong dose of medicine, and you're going to be required to stay balanced, and that means that you have to live it. And the easiest way to do it is, if you don't feel like doing it, don't do anything. Like, it's better, instead of putting in the evil karmas and billing yourself to do nothing, than it is to go off as a fool, as a train wrecking ball. But even then, you'll learn lessons. So remember, either way, the soul or the cosmos will benefit from whatever direction you go. It can harness both of your powers, right? It can take your fermentation and grow roses from it. So can you do the same thing, though? That's why I proposed the question. You're betwixt. You're in between two totally different realms here. What's going to happen to you? What is going to be your fate? Are you going to become two different people, which is fake? Or are you going to merge the whole thing? So this is the real deal. It all comes down to this. And you can imagine, it's 2020. Things have been going on for a while. Stuff's pretty crazy out there. If we don't pretty much take over industry, it's just going to keep driving things into obscurity. You're going to have to get back in here, get the adepts online. Especially we got adepts out here. They don't have infrastructure. They don't have resources. They don't know the computer thing. That's why they keep upgrading. There goes they. Let me put they back in the backs. That's why we keep upgrading the reality so fast, because what's happening is that it's not allowing the stability. When we're upgrading the reality so fast, it's not allowing the stability to actually take place. That's why we got to make sure that there's a purpose to this. Like for me personally, even to keep giving out this information and these upgrades, there better be a purpose for this. Like, you don't want to get everybody off on that diving board and then there's no water down there. And so I'm actually going to show what we're going to be diving into here in a moment. Let me look at my notes. Just remember, balancing the genetic debts in our DNA. This is the real thing. I know you want to pass the buck like a young kid. You know, you're passing the buck. Those are all words for smaller animals. Okay? So the reality here is take on the responsibility and balance things out. Understand, there's stuff in the DNA that could be paid off. Get the credit. Get the 800 beacon. There it is. You know, somebody's saying, what are pillars? They're beacons. Get the 800 beacon by paying off all your judgment, karmic debt, and stop incurring more debt for your tribes, for your genetic lineages, the things that look like you, whether it's an aardvark, you old odd fellow you, or if it's some kind of bee or a beautiful cat. You see what I mean? Stop incurring more debt for them by continuing in the judgment game. Now you get a chance to be the house. Nobody beats the house, right? That's what they talk about. Nobody beats the house. If this is a game and everybody's gambling in all these whack characters they keep signing up to be the house. Contain it all. But that means that you can't put anything outside of you. Because as a counterbalance, it just starts becoming too big. This is the problem with when you're working with those kind of motors and those kind of energetics. When you cast something off, it becomes your counterbalance for contrast. That's what the symbols show us, right? So if this counterbalance is now just as big as your awareness has gotten and your great deeds, oh my goodness, the size of this monster. So some people asked me the other day, some of my close friends, they said, so whatever became of you in attacking the evil boss? And I said, that didn't really go too well. I put a lot of damage on myself. And I said that, in a metaphoric way of just realizing, again, that we can build and we can concoct massive things and then we can destroy them. But the way that I destroy, because they don't have that in the English language, the proper terminology of the destruction. The way that I destroy is to actually refine things, to use that refinement and that synthesis to actually grow something greater. So destruction for me is pulverization. It's making stuff into a powder, like a dust, right? Like you talk about how the planet, the biggest, most enigmatic, unaccredited thing here on the planet is the soil, the sand, and the dust, because it is so instrumental to creating the foundation, but it just gets walked on. You see what I mean? And that's what these tones and these vibrations and these colors are about. And when we build perfect spaces into the recognition, getting the recognition to these forces of what exactly they do on the spectrum and the ladder of lights, real spirituality, then things will actually be in their place and not before then. And until you sort it out in your own consciousness, you'll keep waking up to your own world that you keep pawning off to something else, and it will indeed take it. It will let you pawn it. But the fees and the expenses on something that has such a great value. See, in a pawn shop, they don't give you the value nowhere near what it's really worth. So we should not ever pawn any of the responsibilities and the reality off on something else, because it finds value in those things. It finds a higher value in those things and it sells it off. Like, lastly, to realize that one of the most hidden aspect of the current system in the world, the current how meaning money, currency, how things are living is actually children. And we forgot about that. That's what, because sometimes we're forgetting about our children. It's like you forgetting about your money. Would you ever forget about your money? Let's take a moment here. Would you ever forget about your money? If I gave you, I don't know, $50,000, just a stack, just a brick, just bam. Would you forget about it? No, you wouldn't. If I said, where'd that $50,000? It's in the top drawer. Why are you forgetting about your children? And if for those that say, I don't have kids yet, all the children are all of our children. That was the master lesson. So you're forgetting about our most valuable thing, really. Some people, they make that statement, and they're like, yeah, I know, kids are our most valuable. But no, really, they were the current. Did you know the Chechens were responsible for delivering every 4 years, 100 boys and 100 girls to the crown colony? That was what they had to pay. As many have been digging up in the mud flood stories about entire trains of children being shipped into the United States to build the infrastructure when the new world was being created. The pictures of even places also like China back in the day using the child labor. How children were sold, how even parents' conscience had become so degraded, had become so divided that even parents were having children to sell them. And that if a woman had a very beautiful daughter, the price during this time was roughly 60 pounds. So $100 is how much a child sold for and the value of a child. Women even less. And that currency system of selling our children is still happening. That industry is still robust. And it's not even just the pedophilias and all of the different things that we see going on. It's that, but it's also the educational systems, letting the children just go off to some stranger's house, and we don't even know what the stranger is saying and teaching and any of that, leaving them with Disney for the next enchanted, diabolical film where they're skipping their entire life. The spokes, they're learning things way too fast, and they're skipping processes that they need to be learning because now they know all about it. They need to be learning in longer phases. Now they know all about it because they just watched, Frozen. Right? So just remember, this is a high stakes game. The reason why it is a game also, because a lot of people don't know what that word really means. They think it's just their PlayStation. No. It's a reference that is given to when there is a more superior system. There is actually a more superior system. It's way more serious there. What you do over there affects everybody. That's why most people are not allowed access in there. It's like the parents not allowing the children to be able to access that part of the vehicle, because when you access that part of the vehicle and you do things, it affects everybody. Okay? So, yeah, it's just, wow, the knowledge is powerful. Knowledge is everything. And the wisdom and the application. I don't want to get hung up on the words here. Knowledge, wisdom, application. These things are going to govern your existence. But also, if you feel offended, if you feel like something was told to you that wasn't true, now you need to get your point across. You're playing with yourself. And what I was explaining is why they call it a game. That's what it is. You're playing with yourself. Because look, why they call it a game is because there's one far more superior. It's way more serious. One move there affects everything. So because that one exists, this one was denoted as the illusion, the game. Because it's not as serious as that one. And this is a matter of time. It's a matter of, just like we talk about in the wheel and waiting and spokes, that you can even do all of that here versus there. Every move that's made, every breath you take, everything you think, all that comes into play right away and begins to affect everything in the creation. Just like with a parent. If you think this is so far off, it's just like with the parent. So you're the parent. So every decision you make, if you drive off tonight, leave the kids at the house, go to the club, one of the kids get a hold of some matches, set the whole damn house on fire because you wanted to go party. It's because you put a child in a place with responsibilities that was going to affect everybody. And you did not think for one moment to not put them in that position. You think the ancestors, the great beings, macrobes, etc., are doing that? Absolutely not. They're beyond your concept of the depth. So thus, that is the serious zone. You're not allowed access to that, especially in the dualistic mind frame. You're just going to kill yourself. Literally, you're going to kill yourself if you reach that stage and have not fixed your crossed wires. Okay, so this is very deep. Look, it's all even in the words of what I just said. So you want to understand how this non-judgment balance plays out with the quantum motor, because you engage the quantum motor in duality, you're just going that fast towards a brick wall. And now, because it's 2020, gloves are off. This is now the time where it's no longer, oh, well, they can't have the knowledge yet. They're not ready for the knowledge yet. It's not any of that anymore. Everybody in this space catching this transition is actually all at that same spectrum. I didn't say level. Spectrum, holding space, oscillating through the spectrum until they can do like what we talked about is the last stage, which the last stage is actually coming out of the chakra, coming out of the divided worlds. Now they have a use, because you got these people, they want to take out the chakra. I'm taking out your chakra. Where are you going to put it? The chakras are the evil things that were created. Come on, man. Like, what are you in, second grade? Nothing is here that is not supposed to be here. Put it in its place. And that's the check to all masters. That's why you see me at 100,000 subscribers. They're like, I hate him. Unsubscribe. And it's because when that hammer of Thor truth lays it down, if you're not there with it, it just feels like it hits you. Bam. Now, some of us can take it. I love getting hit with it. Like, hit me again. Break all of this up. Break it all down. Like, I want perfection. Why? Because I'm going to live infinitely and I need a perfect cycle. So I'm conscribing myself to it. It's like, yo, take me. Take me to self. It's like, oh, I'm there already. Okay, thank you. Humbled. Appreciate it. What else should I be doing? Nothing. Okay, meditating. I'm going, am I think? Oh, okay, I'm not thinking anymore. I went through and will continue to go through this process because the rewards are there, not the responsibilities. I'm in the responsibilities now. So lastly, I just want to repeat something. People have a psychological disposition to want to take down the supervillain. Okay? It's a psychological disposition. It's actually that's been studied already in psychology, especially based on the environment, the welfare concrete, all the different things that we've been trained under, how the mind has been reworked, that 1 to 7, I'll show you the man. All of that is designed to where the psychological disposition of the being that has been put in that programming actually wants to take down the supervillain. However, life is just more complex than that. There is not one being back there. It's not. It's several factions. Several different people with multiple reasons. Some that you would even agree with. All practicing a form of division. And now, instead of acting like we're living in an X-Men comic book, it's time for us to realize that our wonder weapon, our one wafa, our going to the north, our Ubermensch, our superhuman, which has now become an alien aspect of the consciousness, meaning something foreign, is each other. This is why when you're looking at somebody, you're talking to somebody, and you're like, you see somebody different, you should become fascinated by that. Rather than turned off, like, oh, they're not doing what I'm doing. They don't believe what we believe in. Especially when it's outside of the box. Like, there's a lot going on inside the box. I definitely gotten tired of that. Like, just the standard Netflix program running in most people's brains. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the rarity. Right? So getting into that again. So I want to show something really briefly here. One is I wanted to give also a special thanks to all those that are listed here. This is a page, by the way, we announced on October 8th, Auspicious Day, Dussera, which is the time in which good and evil should become balanced. The whole good triumphing over evil thing, as I explained before, it doesn't make any sense to me anymore. I think this is it's going too far. So where we have to be is we have to be in a space where we're realizing anytime a program is introduced, in order to not get a lump in our wheel, like we talked about earlier, watch how things work. Watch others and watch yourself with this whole division thing. So, and speak things the way they are. Speak things the way they are, which is balanced. So there is a day on October 8th, and it equals the time in which there is supposed to be a balance finally happening. Okay? That is what's being expressed. That was on the 8th. Now, we also went through Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, update to OS Catalina. But seriously, there's just a lot going on all right now. Why? Portal's open. 8. October. It's not the 10th month. It's the 8th month. Oct means 8. It's the infinity right here, all open. Ancestors have delivered since the Day of the Dead, which was earlier. That was towards Easter, somewhere around there, showing us who we really are, showing us our gifts, what we could inherit if we just come out of the prison, come out of the prism spectrum of the colors, playing around with yourself. Get out of the getting broke all the time and come into the total spectrum and see who you truly are. And now that many of us have accepted that and said, yeah, I'm ready. I've been banged up on here too long. You know, you even have pictures of Jesus or the Messiah's in the spokes of the wheel, like riding the spokes of the wheel. And they're showing getting banged up on the spokes of the wheel too. And this is just about being able to ride this wheel. And so now we've gotten to a stage where we're actually been capable of now riding this wheel in balance. On this unicycle, really doing it. And where that's opening up for us, it's bringing us to what needs to be done. And so I wanted to show that also. Okay, so on the 8th, we started making the migration into the new site. We finally had to push the button like, okay, we got to go into beta because there are things that you activate after you activate other things. And for us to even activate the first one, we need to have everybody inside the platform. So everybody that's ever been a member, which we feel like it's just like everything else. Like if somebody's been there with you since the beginning, you got to ride out with them. So everybody that's been there since the beginning of before the shift, they're also beta users. So they get a chance to take advantage of all the things that the beta users are getting a chance to enjoy. We're opening this new site. This is probably going to be around Wednesday, but we've already started making the migrations, and we have basically 90%, 95% of the migrations done. The only things that are actually remaining is some things that would just overwhelm our support systems by people just complaining about certain things. And so we wanted to fix that before we launched. But this has also been something that there's been so much integrity around this. There's been so much awareness around this, creating not just Secret Energy 4.0 powered by Mindful App, creating Mindful App, and also realizing what we can really do in the future, right? The near future. Because I'm speaking past tense in this case. Like back then when we were conceiving the idea, we were projecting into the future, which is now. And we were thinking what we can do. Like, man, what if this guy's, I know one guy, he had written a whole book about this guy creating something better than Facebook. And he was sitting there explaining the whole guy's life and everything. He knew nothing about me, but he was explaining my life. And then I started thinking, man, is it possible that what we created became bigger than Facebook? Well, it's already bigger than Facebook in my world, so hey, it works for me. But on the external planes, does it actually trend harder than even some of the platforms that we see now? I believe so. Because of what's been built in it. How much it empowers. How much it's not about just leaving you haphazardly to stay on the web all day so they can sell advertisements on you. No. Something that actually brings you into attunement and alignment with all that's going on around you and connects you with people. Even when a person spouts off the technology, it's like, oh yeah, we should have this, we should have this. And then it should have this, and then it should have this. Being a tech giant lets you know every time somebody says they want to have more things, it not only means more resources, it means more complexity. And this is a real world. That's why YouTube, what do they do on YouTube? Just videos. Do you see YouTube doing payment plans and YouTube doing products? And no, they just do videos. Okay, so for us, we have about 40 actionable points inside of our system, all equally powerful. So we're not doing one thing, we're doing 40 things. So what does it take to deploy that kind of technology? First of all, it takes a lot of perseverance. It takes knowing that I didn't get too far in over my head, that I can really do this, that even if we don't have the resources, when I say we're still building it anyway, yeah, beat the drum louder, that's still behind the scenes. I'd be like, yo, we're going to do this. And we don't even have a budget for this. We're going to have to trim everything down. And actually, it's like, bring me all the parts. And then we're going to use it for this. And really making those moves and know how to move with those moves precisely. So I want to say that we were able to raise $70,000 out of $400,000, which was a real quote. It was a real price that we were given of how much it would take to actually build this site to this level. We sketched out everything in phases, and it's great to be at phase 1 already, meaning we were able to build a system within the period of a year that is the world's first conscious ecosystem. It is not just a statement, let's build a conscious social network. Oh yeah, let's do it. No, it is something that we've actually done. So let me take a minute to read a note here. Okay, great. So everybody's, I'm just reading one of my gauges, and they're saying the chat is great. Also remember, or at least balanced enough or stable enough, it is new or full moon. I wanted to send this projection out with the Hunter, also with the Messiah and Hercules and all the rest of them. Whoever, bring them all. I wanted to bring this energy in, and I wanted to ride this wave. I knew when I was going to jump on this wave that I probably would fall off and wipe out the first time in Jaws. But I knew I was going to keep getting back on the board. And this is what I mean even today. Like when I calculated when I was going to do this presentation, I calculated it for the most power. Now, normally you would actually kind of coast into it or do it before it, especially if you didn't want to experience technical difficulties and those kind of things. But I said, no, we're going to jump on right at the peak because we're going to ride this projection in, and that's going to be the tune of the energy. That's what we need. So also, if you're in the chat and it's wild, you feel overstimulated, that's also a product of the amount of power that is here and in the space. So it's okay. Everything's great. It's working. If you didn't get any of this, you got it. It was in the tone. It was in the vibration. It was in the It was in the It was there more so than the meticulous step-by-step approach to the information and the knowledge. So here it is. This is the page that actually will go live. It'll go live when the site makes a transition, which is around Wednesday, Thursday of next week. That's a debugging process time that we've got laid out now, but we're ready. Our stuff and our tech is ready to go. As I said, we rose at this point $70,000. We have a stretch goal, meaning that we are still looking to raise the funds that it takes to build something like this, but we've already got it into the phase to where it can start churning. Let me put this on the screen now. For those who want to contribute to the Mindful app ecosystem and it being built, you can do so here. If you've never heard about this before, and you know you like what's going on here, you feel it shaking inside of you, you know that this is catching traction. Maybe you've been sitting back there for 3 years and you've just been like, maybe he's not legit. Or maybe, and it's just been like a continuous 20-year maybe. I'm still sitting here in front of you, still delivering jewels. So if it is something that you can do jump on and fund this thing so we can keep building. But let me show you what we built, or a part of it. I'm not going to actually unveil it today, but I did want to let everybody know that this page is here. And I also, because what I'm also building is this massive system of transparency where you actually get a chance to see the current that's moving through the system. That's part of our design that we're going to be deploying later. But the reason why we're doing that is not only so that way when we start mindful funding, which is actually contributing towards big projects that people have going on, like creating homeschools for consciousness, etc. We want everyone to be able to see that current moving through and know where that current is going. And so part of that transparency, I want to show everyone right now, because I made a statement the other day and I talked about how that we built something that takes about at least 50 developers. You know, that's on the trimmed down end. Like I talked to some guys at Work Human, they have 400 developers there. Okay. We built something that not only takes a large amount of developers, but it also takes a lot of resources. And through one way or another, I've been able to continuously power this journey, and those that are around me, the pillars and the beacons, we've been able to power this journey to this point. As I said, we raised $70,000. But I do want to just bring people a window in very briefly to, this is one developer, right? So this is one of our senior developers that has been online with us to build this project. The reason why I wanted to bring this up, because some people may be like, okay, so where's the $70,000? Because they don't even understand technology and how much technology costs, and why somebody hasn't already built a big giant ecosystem for everybody, because of what it really amounts to from a number scale. So I want you to take a look at this just very briefly and just see that since our great friend, which I blot out his name so people don't start harassing him, no telling what they would do to him if they just even knew his name. You should be surprised of some of the stuff that goes on around here from some of the people that are watching and the things that they do. So it's even that kind of thing going on. You would think everybody will be glad that we're developing and building something, but no. You show somebody's name or their information, they're calling the people and they're telling them about negative things and discouraging. There's weird stuff going on, but we power through. Snowpiercer. $51,000, $543 paid to date. Now, he's going to bill out big this month too, because there's also a lot that's been going on. And this is one of the developers. So that $70,000 then just already got minus by $50,000. Not to mention when you're mindful funding and not 501c3 or all of those other kind of funding where everything is like a write-off. So then you get the government in your life. This means actually you're taking this in as what people perceive as profit. That's why or what the system perceives as profit. And that's why there's actual things that people get for when they make contributions. They get courses, they get discounts, they get all these different things. And that's how we put our funding together, to not go to Kickstarter, which they probably would have rejected us anyway. But what I'm saying is that even out of that $70,000, we have to pay 30% of taxes on top of the $70,000. And that's just one guy's bill. That has nothing to do with support. That has nothing to do with all of the meticulous things that are involved in building these kind of platforms. So that way we can do just what it says here. Arise together. You're looking at the landing page, which is the first page you dive into of Secret Energy 4.0. This is all I'm going to show of it today as far as our scroll through so we can understand what it does very briefly and what it's here to do, what makes it different. Okay. Also, everything that I'm showing you is fully responsive. We decided to deploy in a way where instead of going into these crazy app stores like Apple's App Store and Android's app stores and all the things they want to hold over your head, we built our own app inside of our own platform, and it functions also on your mobile devices. So this fulfills as we talked about, mobile wealth. Okay, so I'm going to blow it up a little bit here. Mobile wealth on all levels, because we learned that abundance is not just money. It's also friends, connections, the aha moments, all the different things that we share and that we love so much. We love to gather together and to be a part of these things. That is the wealth. And so what we created was something that becomes a great augmentation, meaning something that is allowing us to continuously do that in a very fluid way while also not wasting our time. So we designed a platform that wasn't, hey, come to the website every day. You can do that if you want to, but it's actually designed to get you in the know and get you into yourself and doing your thing and connecting with others. Also, as you can see that we spared no aesthetic expense. Lots of energy goes out to all those that put their time and their energy into creating this. Our brothers and our sisters. I can't even name just one of them because it would be taking light away from the other one. We all spent so much time on creating this, and we didn't cheese on anything. Meaning that just because there wasn't the resources there, then we put our heart. We put hours in. We talked to some folks, seeing if they can do some stuff for us for free. We went there. So that is what bought this. So there wasn't nothing that, just because we don't have the resources, we didn't get their support, we didn't get the finances, because we feel like at this point, we're still showing people what we can do. We're still gaining the trust. That's what it feels like to me. Or else, again, 100,000 subscribers 1 year, $70,000 deployed technology that's worth millions. It's priceless. Doing it with the streamlined crew, just a ragtag team of runabouts that are ready and just have heart, and being able to push all the resources in the right place and even go and get resources from other places just to do this if that wasn't coming from everybody else. And then here we are. What is it? Here you have quantum growth at your fingertips. It is the tools. the actual machinations themselves that allow you to remain in tune and in balance. I won't unveil this completely because I have a day for that, meaning that where I had some previous speeches in the past about what this is capable of doing. Everybody now gets a chance to see it and know that it's here. So when we start going over the fine details of how to actually do it, that's another conversation. I'm just here to show you what it does, what it looks like. And also remember, because of how the platform is designed, it is designed in a way that if you invite someone to it, they feel invited. And not only do they just feel invited to another, here's information. No, they're invited to the tribe. And they get involved in something that teaches them deeply about who they are in so many different ways. And so we have eniology being activated and built inside this platform. That's the knowledge of yourself. What you need to do, the actionables to strengthen yourself, and deploying those actionables through these devices that do that at least very well, which is to remind us, alarms, alerts. The cosmic calendar has been rebuilt to allow you to know the resonance every single day. Like we talked about, these type of metrics that let you know, where's the energy moving? Should I be making big decisions this day? Should I be pulling back a little bit? Should I be watching for a certain thing to occur? So all of that kind of special dialing in of the energy and how to ride the cosmos, that's here. It's in cosmic energy. We got these blowout menus that are phenomenal. As you see here, you access everything, including your profile from these slide-in GUIs. I definitely had hey, let's do something that is futuristic and beyond what we're seeing right now. Let's bring the mock-ups into real life. Like I always see these amazing mock-ups, which is basically when they actually just do the website in Photoshop. But you never see the actual website look like that. And I'm like, what's up with that? And they're like, because of the technicalities and the abilities and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, look, we're going to make the mock-ups look like the actual website this time, and we're going to crush it. Meaning that anything out there hanging outside of Unity, man, I don't think it's going to be able to survive. You're going to have to come into self, and we're going to embrace you. So what happens also here is that we have, of course, the daily streams, which we're going to be bringing in, which dial you into the information that actually is about that day. We've talked about that. We have our podcast. I think I'm going to grow my beard a bit more, and then so I can put some headphones on and get deep into the podcast so I can show Mike Tyson what a podcast really is. And since Joe Rogan's on his way out, move over, Bacon. Here's something meatier. So the reality is that the podcast is on fleek, and the interesting part about how we design the platform is the morning meditations, the podcasts, and the things that we conduct on the platform that are live. The whole platform goes live. So if you're in your activity feed, you can actually see that something's going on with the meditation. And this is just to create an environment where there's less drifting. You don't find yourself just drifting around, chatting and all those kind of things. You're always participating and doing something. Obviously, ohms are integrated. This allows you to actually receive the protocol, the point protocols for actionable deeds that are taking place in the platform. What that means is that we reward you for mindfulness, just like we promised. And that does have value inside of our ecosystem. It has value with products. You can also contribute it to others. There's many things that we're structuring even now. We're on the cusp of a gold gateway, but I won't speak much on that right now just because of the waiting till the baby hatches before you start speaking of it arriving. Obviously, the university is still here. It will be buffed out to unique courses that others, in exploring their uniqueness and becoming soul coaches, will be delivering to you. That will be all in line with their profile. This platform, as we talked about, is profile centric, and it allows you to connect in the activity feed, similar but more beautiful than Facebook, in order to keep up with what your favorite meditations and your favorite meals and all that, and people who cook that stuff and people who prepare those things are all doing inside of Tribe. We've also bolted on Real Search. We built from scratch a tool that allows you to be able to search through all of the metaphysical videos that we've created through keywords on your mobile device. So if you say Kundalini, you'll get every single video that I said Kundalini, and get a chance to go through everything Sevan said about Kundalini to just exhaust the topic once and for all. So you can just move on from that. And also anybody else that we put into that system. And so that's Real Search, which is, again, something that we've created from the ground up. We also have GeoChat, and some of these things that I'm mentioning are more heavier in our resources. That's why we start in beta, just so you understand technology. You start in beta, and then you start debugging, and then you start activating other things. And that's the process that we have to go through, and we go through that process together. So we're going to be activating GeoChat a little bit later on after our launch, but GeoChat does allow you to see people in your area that do vibe with how you're vibing. We even have deeper metrics that allow Enealogy to assist you with finding friends in your area based on their path numbers. We also have an interest cloud anyway that you fill out in starting the app. And that actually allows us to know people that or know how to connect you with people that are interested in the same thing that you're interested in. Obviously, there's the activity feed, as I mentioned. There's the unique assets, which we're going to be building on later. You still have your directories, which we're going to be placing so much more attention into. A lot have been liking to see a lot of people have been liking to see these podcasts that I've been doing with other brothers and sisters, bringing their message. And I'm going to be going personally through the directory and starting to reach out to those that are still available that are there and actually bringing them in and getting some interviews with them, getting some real connection with them and seeing what they're about since they are in that directory. And of course, we have these master courses that are coming that are just precise in what you want to know. And then obviously, this is something that everyone gets an opportunity to benefit from, especially since our goal is to replace the job. I've broken this down as something super simple. Get rid of the jobs. Give people actually a place where they can come and actually earn, become wealthy on so many levels. And I feel like that you don't really have to try to convince people to come in and to get wealthy. Duh. That's why not too many people have been able to deliver on that. But truly, it is possible. It's in the laws. It's actually in the laws of gamification, the theories of gamification, what you saw in cryptocurrency, what you see with WhatsApp, what you see with Facebook. When there's a lot of people all in one place, that's the greatest value, especially if they're exploring their uniqueness. And that's what makes this so different than your Instagrams and makes it so different than your Facebooks, is because this is letting you explore your uniqueness and giving you the Goonies, giving you the brothers and the sisters, the comrades, the other creators with you to go on that experience. And then also you're earning along the way. You're replacing the job. And this is it. This is the precipice. Like they couldn't do this because they were betraying themselves. So we did it because we're in tune with self. So we got a little footer here. And then obviously there's a store side to this. This is your main lander. Also remember that we have a very strong affiliation. Our commissions are high. And we have some amazing products that have come in. And I guess it's no longer accessible. There's migrations going on right now. So I'll close this up. But these will be things that you'll be able to see next week. And wow, because I get a chance to look at it because, I'm not only the client, I'm the president. I definitely can say we did our best. And we're just beginning. This is phase 1. We've climbed the ladder. What we do from here will already show people just how we get to it, just how serious this is. And just it will eliminate all the questions like, I wonder if he's really, or I wonder if they're really, or all of that's been going. I feel like it is going on, obviously, because there still hasn't been, like I have to look at the metrics. So I see the numbers. That's what I said, the matrix, those are the metrics. So I watch the metrics and I look at the metrics and I see that there's a point where we're going to be now going into, we're going to start hitting these higher numbers all the way around, exposing ourselves to more people and what we have to offer, seeing more people come into the platform, seeing things churn greater for the affiliates to where they're actually being able to offset their expenses with what they're gaining here. Even if you just look at ambassador training, some people say, well, ambassador training is like $79 a month. I don't have $79. Well, be a specialist. It's free. And then you'll get like season 1 and season 2. We loaded season 2 of Ambassador Training so you can start dialing in. You can start dialing in this sovereignty. So nobody's put a wall there. It's there. It's free. It's in the university. But then you'll start realizing, well, shoot, it's not even about the $79 because if you just share the link a couple times, you're already making at least $79 and now you're getting it all for free. So we're free in that you earned it. Because there's one big thing that we learned about when people just get things. It has no value. And that was the moral of the lesson today. I like to call it the spoiled child. You're given these breaths. You're given this water, which is very valuable. They will tell you how valuable water and breath really is. As a breather and as a person who, as a connoisseur of water, it is very powerful. But we take it for granted. We're spoiled. We've had so much. So now it's time for us to recognize that that's become somewhat of a flaw in our character. Because what it does create when then you're given a lot and you didn't do anything to get it, you don't feel like it has any value. So thus it becomes valueless to you. You literally get the magnum opus, but because you didn't work for it, you didn't connect to it energetically, you didn't do any of that, it doesn't have any value to you. So that's why we put those values there. But then if you notice, for me, especially with this latest venture, this is like Patreon. You got people all the time. Hit the Cash App, everybody, hit the Cash App. Do you ever hear me saying it? Do you see monetization on the channel? No. Why? It's the decade because we're here for you. Are you here for us though? How long does it really take? And that's of course, these are people that have it. We're not talking about people who don't have it. That need something. We have something for you. That's how the platform is designed. Input, output. You don't have nothing? Great. We start off with genealogy. We'll dial you right in. We'll let you understand what's broken so that you can get your wheel turning. Then you go into specialist training. You'll be in there. You got season 1, season 2, and how to build a projector. Once you come out of there, if you don't make $79, something's wrong with you. Now you got $79. This is only just to get you into ambassador training so you could take the rest of what is there because it's a step-by-step process. Now that you have something that you know you have to maintain, you're going to do well over that. But to you, it's free basically is what I'm saying. Who designs stuff like that except for people who really care? What is the real expression? The action. That's why they define karma the wrong way. Karma is the action. These are the actions. Why do they call it karma? Because there's a rebound for everything that I do. Every yin, there's a yang. When I say to a guy, build something, they say, this is how much it costs. When I make an action, I get a reaction. That's why it's called karma. Karma is something when you do something, something happens back. But it doesn't mean it always happens back in a bad or a negative way. That's an over definition. That's not what it means. And just like Dharma, everybody wants the Dharma. What does the Dharma mean? To bind, to connect. Look at it. Go look at it yourself. What does the word Dharma mean in the language that it's in? It means to connect, to bind, to bridge. So truly the greatest gift that you can be given is to be a part of something that is bridging and creating and connecting. But now you can sit back on the sidelines and you can watch. But wouldn't you rather participate? Like I said, if you see how many people are on that list, I think in the pillars, there's about 459 pillars, if I can remember properly. And it may go up 1 or 2 in a day, right? Or was it one of the 70% of the campaigns that failed? Now, take that on top of, this is about consciousness. So I think people cooked up enough monsters in their minds for me to fight, to have to get through to make this happen. And I've plowed through all of them. So what I'm saying is that there's so many things that you would face, but together, what we've been able to do is we've been able to pierce right through it. And not only that, we're just getting started because also we know that the greatest value is actually in our children. So sure, we got to get the adults straight, but to be able to repurpose the same platform, which is a clone, once we finish this platform and it's debugged, we can clone it. It costs money. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this. But then because we own it, we can say, let's make a kid's version. And let's bring genealogy for kids. Let's actually allow kids to actually earn more points for becoming aware of themselves. Let's let those points actually be redeemable for things that they need so they'd stop selling drugs and stop selling all of their selves and selling out because they need to go and make money so they can be like their rap video freak, right? So instead of that, they could come into the platform, learn about themselves, and make currency. Because when you watch kids, it's like if there's no incentives, they're bored. But instead of putting them on mow the lawn, what is he going to learn about mowing the lawn? Well, I learned a lot. I actually learned quantum economics, but that was me. I was a prodigy, the standard kid. If they're not learning about themselves, it's disempowering them. So you see, we're just getting started. But it's planned out beyond 10,000 years. It's planned out to infinity. So I just wanted to say wholeness and balanced vibrations to everyone. It's been amazing. It continues to be amazing. We've created a lot of stuff. We got stuff you haven't even seen, stuff we haven't even talked about. Even Fiagua is still sitting over here waiting on a second round from me, a second round of funding to deliver that. Hydrogen devices, hydrogen with magnesium, total regeneration. And then all this being placed also in your hands. Because remember, it's not just, oh, here's something to buy, here's something to buy. Here's something you can present to somebody else to bring a solution for them. And guess what? You catch traction for that. We award you for that. You don't got to send links for products. You're not doing that. Just send a link to a post about something that's expansive. And once people get in there and start seeing what is going on, we'll empower them. If they don't have money, wait. 2 months, they're going to have some. They're going to make a financial transaction. You're going to get awarded for it because we're taking them through the process of understanding why they're not making current, why their will is broken. And then if they have something already, then they come in there, they find a smorgasbord, meaning something that they can really find something that they like in. And if they place a financial event within that, then you're getting compensated for that. And with us growing together like that, and continuously reinvesting back in the platform, like the $70,000, like where did that go? And one of the developers got 50,000 of it, and that's real deal stuff. And he's working on love prices. That's the other thing. He's at love. He's at $40, $35 an hour. Developers are at $70, $80 an hour. But we're digging. We're finding people that we connect with. We're resonating. And then also, we're not just talking, yep. Yeah, maybe it should be like this. Maybe we should develop this and this and this and this and this and that. Like, man, if you were sitting for one moment and even listening to me, you will even realize that what you're telling me is the same thing that I actually told you. And you're actually regurgitating back to me what I said. But I have enough wisdom and knowledge to know now that we all need to be doing it together, not by ourselves. It's not my idea. Like quantum is using thousands of souls, consciousness to create a projection, but not that is for our own demise. Do you see that got everybody loaded in to a framework where, especially with the news and how everything is running, it is to everybody's demise to keep plugging into it. Every single thing that they introduce is all conflict. One person versus another, this person versus that. And then everybody has their own stance in the whole thing, so they all feel right. So they're getting left. They're getting left. There's no balance in all of that. But now, somehow, on the cusp of 2020, you've reached some stage of greatness to where the transitional phase of your consciousness to take you from binary to trinary and then beyond is now right at your doorstep being delivered to you with roses and flowers around it, with true care, not with a string attached, not for a certain price. The thing is free. Like, look at the information in YouTube. You go down, scroll down, do a big scroll. Like on your phone, you just go, wah, do a big scroll. And you'll come down there to yet more amazing gems that we keep projecting to assist people in growing. But again, are we sitting back here at $70,000? So people who really don't have money, they're like, wow, incredible, $70,000. But for people who really know any of this stuff, it's like, wow. Just $70,000? Somebody just bet that last night on crypto. And then we pull off the big platform. I just wanted to take one moment to talk about that. That's all I had to say. You know, it's just because it goes on. Okay. I'm getting some message here. Okay, yeah. Hold on real quick. Give me 1 second. Somebody's asking me a question. So in conclusion, what I'm saying is that if I never talk about this stuff, like people just skip along, la-di-di-da, you know, it's so easy. And then I would be giving you the wrong interpretation of what's happening. I want to be very transparent, let you know what's going on, let you know how we deliver, let you also see that, hey, we do need real assistance. We're making it happen. Things are getting done. If you want to go and assist in what's happening here, you can go there if you've never heard of this before. What is it going to do? It's going to keep allowing us to build the ecosystem. We have phase 1, we have phase 2, we have phase 3, we have phase 4. What does this ultimately come into? Well, you can look at an intercom, like intercom is an app. You can look at a Zendesk. You can look at a work human. You can look at a Sears, a Kmart. You could see a Ford, a Ferrari. You can see all of these firms now having to have mindfulness in line, meaning support. What is it to say you have support? Right? Like some people say, well, like, here's customer support. What about employee support? Is there employee support in here? Employee just falling apart. Like he's just like not himself. Definitely not the same way he started the job. Why? Not spending time on self, not connecting with self, not eating the right things, not meditating. So does that make a better person to work with if they're doing those things? Absolutely. So you see how it starts? First, companies have powered by Mindful app. Even Secret Energy is powered by Mindful app. So companies start having powered by Mindful app in line with their support for their employees. After work, if you have issues with your spouse, if you have health issues, if you're dealing with issues with your children, issues, this is the support for those issues. And then as we begin to work with those executives, those employees, as we call them, more, and they're starting to get empowered and realize who they are, because those are the people who are making the decisions, by the way. That's who's determining what kind of packaging is going to go around a certain product. Is it going to be biodegradable packaging or is it going to be more plastic? Those are the people who are deciding, is it going to be this book that tells more of the truth or is it going to be this book that's cheaper? Is there other people that decide, are we going to flip the company over to all electric vehicles or are we going to keep pushing combustion for the next 2 or 3 more years until we ride it till the wheels fall off? You see what I mean? So these are the people that are making the decisions. So to wake them to themselves is the long haul vision. Do you see what I mean? That's big projection. That's when I project far, that's now, I haven't excluded them. I put them in their proper place. And that's what I'm saying that this power does, because it motivates you to get right back in here again. And just because I spent a year and a half, 16 hours a day, along with some of my weepulation, my friends, building this. So what would make me want to sign up for another phase and another level if it wasn't for the love of my sisters and my brothers and those that are around me? So if I inherit too many things, or any at all, that's where I'm at. But for where most people are, too many things that become the problem, then there's no solutions, because then you're just dealing with a broken wheel. And so today we're putting the wheel back together. We're inflating the tires, getting the actual rubber back on the road, and we're causing traction. And we're doing that with how this has been created, and we're actually bringing the action into the reality, which is the true karma, and it's unobstructive, unobtrusive karma. So we can begin to inherit this dharma, which is the bridge. So we've invited everybody in, pressed down 100-fold, and that's what it is. So thank you so much, everyone. It's been real. I'll be talking to everyone soon, and let's get to it.